Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call the order of the Londonderry Town Council meeting. Today is Monday, March 3rd, at 7 p.m. Moose Hill Council Chambers. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please remain standing. Yes. Going to do something a little different than what we usually do. So instead of the moment of silence, I'd like us to kind of reflect on our first responders, our police officers, firefighters, DPW crew, and all that serve our town with dedication, stepping up in moments of crisis, putting others before themselves, and carrying burdens the rest of us will never fully understand. But they don't do it alone. Behind every first responder is a family that sacrifices as much. They're the ones keeping things running at home, holding down the fort with the loved ones that are out, while our loved ones and their loved ones are out serving our community. They're the ones worrying, praying for a safe return, and then when the shift is over, they're the ones picking up the pieces, offering love and support after a tough day or hard calls or long nights. So really their sacrifices deserve to be recognized as much as the ones in uniform. So before we begin tonight's business, I just would like to offer a moment of prayer for our first responders. So let's pray. Heavenly Father, we come to you tonight with grateful hearts. Thank you for the protection you provide, your strength you give, and the peace that only you can bring. Lord, we ask you to watch over the men and women who serve this town as first responders and employees of this community. For the police officers who stand between danger and safety, for the firefighters who rush into the flames, for the DPW crews who keep things running no matter what the condition is. Be with them, guide them, and protect them. Give them wisdom when the decisions are hard, endurance when they're worn out, and peace when the weight of their work gets heavy. And Lord, we lift up their families and the ones who stand behind them, supporting them, worrying for them, and welcoming them home after the long shifts. Give them strength, peace, and comfort. Let them feel seen, appreciated, and never taken for granted. Lord, I pray this blessing over all of them. May the Lord bless you and keep you. May his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. May he lift you up, his countenance upon you, and give you peace. In Jesus' name, amen. Thank you. Please be seated. All right, folks, so I'm going to open up with public comment. I've been asked...
I've got something first, if you don't mind.
Yes, please.
So, along with what's just been offered is that last week we did have a tragic event here in town. There were the road had to be closed, and there were a number of people who couldn't get home that night. Through the work with Alert, with the police department and others, we were able to go and talk to the Morell family at 2 Chamarod Road, and we were able to find access to Century Village through their backyard. The Public Works Department came out and cleared their driveway, salted it, and made sure everybody was safe. The Alert Department deployed in like 15 minutes and had well over half a dozen people on the ground with flashlights, and were guiding these people through a small area of a wooded area up to Century Village. By 11 o'clock, we had somewhere between 120 and 140 cars parked out on Peabody Row and on the adjoining streets. So the Morell family was very gracious. Let us go through their property. We made sure it was well groomed. Mr. Morell had actually blown out paths to his backyard already, which I guess he normally does back to his shed, which was very helpful. And that we're just really grateful. The people who could get home that night, the road did not open until 5 a.m., and they were able to sleep in their beds that night. So that was great. The police department, we talk a lot about training with the fire department and training. This was a great instance of where the time, the money spent, the great people that work for this community, training was paramount. and that everybody got to go home from our staff that night. It was a tragedy, and just thank you to our people, and thank you. This is what community is about. This is what it's all about, people pulling together, getting things done, and especially thank you to the Morrell family.
Thank you. All right, with that, I'll open up public comment. Our police captain, Patrick Cheatham, has asked to come and talk a little bit about the Bring Back the Trade Skills Expo. Captain, good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the council, Town Manager Bernard, and ladies and gentlemen here in the audience. I'm here just to try and just spread the word about an event that Katie Sullivan and I, in conjunction with Londonderry Rotary, are hosting the Saturday of April school vacation. We're hoping that there'll be enough people behind. I think that there will be. But this program, Bring Back the Trades, is something that caught my attention a couple months ago when Governor-elect Ayotte and Mike Rowe were up at NHTI in Concord. And this is a 501c3 organization that raises money for scholarships for students to pursue careers in the trades, and to help spread the word about the deficiency across our nation, let alone our state, of tradespeople, whether it be plumbing, electricians, contractors, across the entire board. And it's really opened my eyes. And when she presented at, she being the director of Bring Back the Trades at Londonderry Rotary here in town, she was soliciting some funds to hopefully go towards a scholarship for a Londonderry high school senior. And we got the idea and we brainstormed that we need to host one of these events here in town. So on Saturday, April 26th from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m., Londonderry Rotary is actually holding a tri-state regional Rotary meeting, but at the high school gym, we'll be hosting we hope to be 100 different private businesses. Is co-sponsored by FW Web right here in town. They're the principal sponsor for Bring Back the Trades as a program in and of itself, which is based out of Rye, New Hampshire. And we're making our social media blast, but we want to take this one opportunity to come before the council and the public that are watching from home. And also Katie Sullivan and I will be addressing the school board in coming weeks as well. So I have a couple of handheld flyers, but they're saved as a PDF on our website. Go to our social media, and please just help us spread the word.
Patrick, for those at home, is this more geared for high school seniors or for any age group of people who might be looking for a new career or who are out of work?
While it's geared towards maybe high school juniors and seniors, anyone is welcome to attend. And we've also specifically have reached out to Pinkerton and Derry as well as Wyndham. Wyndham is part of Londonderry Rotary. They don't have their own Rotary Club. So Londonderry leads the way, and we're just taking that initiative to try and invite as many people as possible. There is no admission to attend. And all these contractors, if you go to the website, all the monies are being handled by Bring Back the Trades. It's just easier to do it that way. And it's impressive that different businesses have already paid $1,000 a table just to come to our event because they're so passionate about trying to increase their workforce and say, like, you know what, you can make a really, really good living and maybe even be your own business owner someday. You know, Paul the plumber, they're from here in Londonderry, and they're one of the largest plumbing outfits in Southern New Hampshire. Southern New Hampshire Concrete, I saw Bob Slater in the background, you know, a huge employer here in town, commercial and residential type stuff. And sometimes students just don't know what they don't know. And there's going to be a lot of demonstrations. We're going to have a lot of, I don't want to call it a touch-a-truck event because it sounds like you're in kindergarten, but they're going to be bringing a ton of equipment, a ton of displays, and just trying to educate people. So while our focus is as a teenage group, everyone is welcome to attend. It's essentially a big job fair.
Is that the high school gym or cafeteria?
High school gym. The Rotary will be hosting at the cafeteria, but we've commandeered the high school gym and the front parking lot.
Wonderful.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
Great. Thank you very much for your time.
Thanks, Captain.
Stop. I don't get to address everybody very often. Take full advantage. Thank you.
All right, folks, from public comment. Good evening, sir.
Good evening. Ray Breslin, 3 Gary Drive. I just wanted to briefly comment about this tax incremental financing that we just recently viewed, and there's something actually in here in black and white which doesn't really explain it too well. And so basically,
Hey, Ray, you know there's a public hearing on it, right?
You can
Yes.
speak then at that time.
yes, okay.
You
I'm
can
just trying to
speak
make
now.
a point here that we need a full explanation of this so we know what we're talking about here. The other thing, just briefly, is that there's a lot going on. There's a lot moving forward, and it seems though we're inviting more development into this town when we're trying to play catch-up. We're trying to update our master plan, our zoning regulations, and yet we're kind of putting the word out, y'all come and we will take care of you. And then when a developer comes and puts something forward, and it's like you're going to kind of feel obligated to move it forward because you've already told them you're going to help them out. So that's fine. There's nothing wrong with business. Another quick item is that we get grant money, which we should. Why not take advantage of it? But when we're using some grant money for, and we need clarification on this too, grant money on a rail trail, which is a nice idea, but it's not a priority. We have a lot of other things that are top priorities, like traffic, like sewer, water, and public safety. So I would suggest we need to be very careful how we direct the money. The budget's already been settled, I guess. We're moving forward in March with warrant articles, and I think the Budget Committee put something forward to maybe cut, like, I don't know, $500,000 or something out, and that was not moved forward. We can make cuts on things that are not essential. There's a lot of things we want to support. We had the Morrison House, meeting house, and we did a lot of times talking about that, and now we don't even have it on a warrant article. So now we're another year, and what are we going to do? And that, quite frankly, even though I think it's very important, it's not necessarily a top priority. So we have to think about things, but we've already spent probably close to $50,000 on studies on that, and we still don't know what direction we're going. So I look forward to having further explanation on the incremental financing. And thank you for allowing me to speak.
Thank you.
Deb Paul, 118 Hardy Road.
Good evening.
Good evening. I just want you all to know how very, very frustrating it is for residents when they come to speak at public comment and they're talking to you looking for answers to questions or direction. And they know that you know the answers, and yet you guys just sit there and stare at them and give them no response. And I'm hoping that tonight and moving forward that we could maybe change that a little bit and try engaging a little bit with the public and giving them the answers that they came here to get, not letting them go away frustrated. So I'm hoping that new year, new council, and that hopefully moving forward we'll have a refreshing change on how public comment is actually handled. Because it's very, very frustrating to come up here and say, what about this? How does this work? Can someone give me an answer? And we know that somebody in the room knows the answer, and yet nobody responds. And so I just hope that maybe moving forward it could be refreshing to have something more positive. Thank you.
Thank you.
Glenn Douglas, 6 Overlook Ave.
Good evening.
I guess this is a little bit related to what Mr. Breslin said about development. I'm just going to read it because there was actually a lot of stuff. And I, as many others in the community, feel Londonderry is facing an ever-growing issue with development. I understand that as a growing community, controlling development is a very challenging issue. We've been told many times property owners have a right to develop their properties. My concern is that I do not believe the town council has addressed the rapid growth Londonderry is experiencing. In the last few years, a growth management ordinance has been proposed several times. Unfortunately, the topic of growth only seems to be addressed shortly before an election. Last year at this time, it was again suggested that a growth management ordinance be studied by the council. Unfortunately, in the years since then, nothing has been done, and the council has taken very little action to investigate growth and development. What we have been told is the town needs tools to address growth and development. In the past, the town used impact fees to offset the cost of infrastructure caused by new development in town. Impact fees were assessed on new construction and paid to the town. Those fees could be used to offset infrastructure needed in the town. Recently, a video put out by town council candidate John Farrell discussed impact fees. In the video, Mr. Farrell stated that the town no longer uses impact fees because they require matching funds. In lieu of impact fees, the town has chosen to use development agreements, which he claims are much more beneficial to the town. It was stated that if we, quote, get $1 million, we need to find $1 million, implying that matching funds were required for impact fees. When I heard this, I was surprised because I don't recall matching fees being required in the past, so I did what most people do, consulted Google. I Googled matching funds for impact fees in New Hampshire. I could find virtually no information that required matching funds. I reached out to several people in town, and no one could call matching funds in the past. I reached out to Mr. Farrell on his re-election Facebook page and asked for clarification about the matching funds. Mr. Farrell responded, Mr. Douglas, impact fees are for a portion of improvements under the state regulations with many restrictions. The town has found development agreements are much more effect with less improvement restrictions and less overall cost to the community. They are designed to have development property carry the lion's share of the needed improvements. It's my understanding that Ms. Karen, the assistant town manager, will be bringing a comprehensive presentation to the community in the near future. Unfortunately, that really didn't answer my question. I asked what matching funds are required for impact fees. I then reached out to Christine Perez, who had asked about impact fees at a recent town council meeting, if she had any information about the required matching funds. Ms. Perez reached out to several people. Brody Duchess, New Hampshire Municipal Association, Diane Power, Chairman of the Municipal and County Government, David Scanlon, Secretary of State, Noah Hodgetts, Office of Planning and Development, New Hampshire Economy, Heather Shank, New Hampshire State Senior Planner. All of these individuals stated that impact fees do not require matching funds. I also contacted Kelly Karen, the Assistant Town Manager, Director of Economic Development. I asked for all the development agreements for the projects currently under construction in the town and was sent the agreement for Woodmont Commons. When I asked about other agreements, the response was there are no other agreements for projects currently under construction. I responded to the Assistant Town Manager and asked for all previous agreements. Last Thursday, as of today, I have not received any. My question is, if development agreements are used in lieu of impact fees, how is it that we only have one agreement with one development in town? I'd also like to address something else that was brought up in the video that was stated. It was stated that the reason Mr. Farrell ran for town council was that he got a phone call from Art Rugg, the planning board chairman, asking him to meet with the developers of Woodmont. Mr. Farrell stated after the meeting, he then realized that they were going to move forward and build and wanted to run for council to have input and control of what was being built. If we go back to another video from 2010, Mr. Farrell, candidate for town council then, stated he was aware of the sale of Woodmont Commons 2 years prior to that video. That would have been 2008. Woodmont at the time was zoned AR1. In 2008, AR1 zoning restricts what can be built in the zone. The planned unit development passed in 2010 allowed changes in zoning property contained inside the PUD, which expanded zoning and allows for commercial buildings such as restaurant, hotel, etc. that could not have been built in an AR1 zone.
10 seconds left.
You're going to cut me off at 10 seconds.
You have 5 minutes just like everybody else, sir.
Okay. But then you can cut me off when you cut me off. When the town council chairman at the time, I
Sir, your
believe,
time is up. Thank you.
Mr. Chair?
Yeah.
Could I just add? I sent Mr. Douglas the requested documents this evening around 6:30 p.m.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Richard Belinsky, 89 Hall Road. I'm going to do a little recap of what came up at the last meeting, since you are looking to renew the tax collector's contract tonight. I made it clear at the last meeting. Well, let me clear something else up first. Seems to be a lot of people out on social media trying to say that my bringing this up is a vendetta against both the town clerk and the tax collector. That's not true. They can say that if they want. What I'm trying to do is get the town council to vote. They don't even have to vote, to enforce the vote that was taken in 2014 that passed by 77% of the voters, 1423 to 423. And that was to make the town clerk's position part-time and to appoint a tax collector. In the minutes of that meeting, and he's here tonight, and he can say if it's otherwise, but the minutes of that meeting state that the tax collector's position will be absorbed by the town clerks that are currently in the town clerk's office. And when you do the numbers, 140,000 that they were saying Meg was making, and 110,000 savings, that would come up to the 30,000 they were looking to do for the town clerk at that time for the part-time position. So that all makes sense. So now, why are we doing what we're doing? Why do we have a contract coming up again today with a $4,166 raise, 5.6%, for a position that's not supposed to exist, per the way it was discussed at the deliberative session? It's never been enforced. The town clerk's contract, which under, I think it's either 4125 or 4133, one's for the tax collector, one's for the town clerk, is supposed to be done in public, just like you're doing tonight for the tax collector's position that isn't supposed to exist. We need some answers. I'm not the first one to ask about this. This has been asked about in prior years. The interesting part is, all of a sudden, when the incumbent who's running, John Farrell, he was one of the 5 people that voted on the town council to put this forth in 2014. He's the only one currently still on the board. He takes over in 2016 as the town council chair. Now, all of a sudden, none of this is being done. It's just not. There's no argument here. It's not a vendetta. Either you want people to come out and vote and their vote to mean something, or you don't. It's one of the reasons I chose to run this year. I've had enough of it. 77%, they've been ignored. Why? It wasn't something that was advisory. It was put forth by the town council. But I got people online, and they can do whatever they want, trying to vilify me for bringing up something that this council and prior councils should have been taking care of. It is what it is. So when is the town clerk's contract going to be done in public like it's supposed to be done by state law? I've talked to the state on multiple occasions, and they all say the same thing. And you yourself are doing one half of it correct, and the other half's getting buried. And it's getting buried to the detriment of the taxpayers, because we're paying tens of thousands of dollars a year more for the tax collector's position, the town clerk's position, than we're supposed to. None of what I've brought forth is my paperwork. It's all in the town report and all papers that were got under the 91A. Why, when somebody is a deputy tax collector and they get a $5,000 stipend and they're no longer in that position, do they keep the stipend and it gets put into their pay? This is how you run a business, not the way it's being run. And there's going to be people here tonight behind me, I'm sure, that are very upset by what I'm saying. But the truth is what the truth is. I'm not making this up. I'll give each and every one of them the papers if they want. I tried doing it online, and as soon as I put the 4 pages of the Warren article up, all of a sudden they shut down comments, because the comments started going the opposite way they wanted when people were saying the truth is what the truth is. So this kind of goes to what Deb's saying. We need some answers. Excuse me?
You have 10 seconds.
Okay, that's fine.
Thank you.
So you do not have to do the contract tonight. You have until April 1st. Put it off and get answers, because it's not supposed to exist.
Thank you.
Just as a slight clarification, I became town council chairman in 2012 and did it for 10 different times. Just as a clarification.
Good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Chair. Kevin Smith, 6 King Phillip Drive, former town manager. Since I miss coming to these Monday meetings so often, I thought I'd get up tonight and maybe shed a little light on this subject matter. And of course, I'm under no obligation to do so, but a wise person once said, when a lie goes unchallenged long enough, it often becomes the truth. So, hoping to shed a little bit of truth on this whole situation tonight. And I apologize, it may take more than 5 minutes, but people have been asking for questions. People have been asking for an explanation on this. I want to provide a little background and context on this matter first. The former town clerk was someone named Meg Seymour. She held that position until sometime in 2013. She was a combined town clerk tax collector. Received her last salary of her last full year was $84,000. She received benefits with that position, and that include medical, dental, New Hampshire retirement, and such. It totaled about $140,000 in the total compensation package. Sometime between March of 2013 and when I was appointed town manager in August of 2013, Meg resigned from that position. And at that time, the interim town manager, Bill Hart, appointed the finance director to be the acting town clerk. The deputy town clerk tax collector at that time, that was a full-time position. That person didn't want to be the town clerk. In fact, I don't think they lived in Londonderry, so they couldn't be the town clerk. So after I was appointed, there was a very short time between when I came on in August and when we had to start the budget season that October. I relied on staff, relied on the finance director at the time and the deputy town clerk tax collector to talk about how are we going to deal with the town clerk's office going forward. Since we didn't have a town clerk, we found ourselves in a position we hadn't been in for quite some time because Meg Seymour had been the full-time town clerk tax collector, I think, for a decade prior to that. So similar to the questions that Mr. Douglas has asked about what do you do if you get a new town clerk that has no experience, how do you set that compensation, we were having those same discussions. And so at that time, the advice that was given was, you know what, things seem to be working in the clerk's office the way they're currently happening. Why don't we bifurcate the positions, which you can do legally, have a separate tax collector, and have a separate town clerk, but reduce, quote unquote, reduce the hours, reduce the compensation of that position, and have most of the functions absorbed by the existing clerks that were in that office at the time and the tax collector / town clerk. That's what we ended up putting on the ballot that year. And we set a compensation of $30,000 for the town clerk, thereby saving the town $110,000 because of the delta between 140 and 30. If you read the minutes from when that was done, there were a lot of strong opinions about it. A lot of people felt that wasn't going to work, but they were willing to try it. And I think part of the reason for that was because of the cost savings that were going to occur. It ended up passing. Sherry Farrell was elected that year. There were 3 people running for that open seat. About 6 months into that position, a number of things became clear. Once Sherry was in there as town clerk. Number one, there were duties that were supposed to be getting done in the town clerk's office that weren't being done by either the finance director or the deputy town clerk. So the duties that Sherry thought she was going to have coming into that position brand new ended up being a lot more. Number 2, there were too many cooks in the kitchen. You had a finance director who was managing the office, you had the tax collector that was managing the office, and you had a town clerk that was trying to manage the office. And that functionally and operationally wasn't working for that particular office. Number 3, there was an expectation amongst both the clerks in the office and the public that the town clerk was going to be there more often. People would ask me all the time, including the town clerks who worked there at the time, how come Sherry's not here more? Well, the answer was very clear. Sherry was not there more because that's what the Warren article said. She was only going to be there a few hours a week. So,
Mr. Smith,
yes,
your time is up.
my time is up. Well, I guess we'll have to save it then for the next town council meeting.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Good evening, Mr. Chair.
Good evening.
Ted Coos at 57 Griffin Road. Breath of fresh air. I'm not here on any of this topic, so I don't. Good evening. I saw in the minutes there's something about a tax exemption for businesses coming in, and just want to express that in my small circle of friends in town, basically that the consensus is that we're growing kind of fast.
We do have a public hearing
Yeah.
on that where the public can come in, come in and talk, or the public tonight talk to that specific item.
Okay.
You're more than welcome to talk to now. We already had a resident talk to that during public comment. You're more than welcome to talk during the public
Yeah,
hearing.
just very briefly. So,
Sorry for
no, that's quite all right. Yeah, so basically, I think people just want to make sure we don't end up like the mall in Nashua where it's extraordinarily overgrown. These businesses coming in, I think generally speaking, businesses welcome, industry maybe not, because if you look at the EPA surveys, the groundwater surfaces here in Londonderry we're famous for water. It spreads out from this town in all directions. So if something were bad to happen here, that would be catastrophic for all the surrounding towns as well. So I'm somewhat concerned about industry coming in. Like to see this be a bedroom community that it has been. Because these apartment buildings going up, they're going to require a lot of service. New businesses coming in would require a lot of service, as you know, fire trucks, police, etc. So basically, a citizen in opposition to, let's say, excessive tax breaks for these businesses. Okay. Just the last point is, I don't know if maybe you have some influence, but I think we could use more enforcement of drivers under the influence. I don't know about you, but I see a lot of nips and beer cans and that kind of thing along the roads. Along Griffin Road is famous for it. Mammoth Road, I see a few. So if they catch one guy, statistically 9 got through. So a few more random stops I think would be welcome. So thank you very much. Appreciate you
Thank
guys.
you.
Thank you for your help.
Good evening. Daniel Bouchard, 8 O'Connell Drive. I just want to thank our police department for doing an awesome job the other day protecting our citizens in this community, our first responders that responded. I know when we go through the budget, we look at how much we're spending on public safety. Chief Bernard, wants more money for his training and stuff, and we look at it and we say, this really paid off. All the training that we've done for our officers, none of our officers got hurt. Okay? Never seen anything like this in our community happen. And I was glad that we had really well-trained officers that responded, along with our fire department and our public works. And I just want to thank them. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Good evening.
Hi. My name is Maureen Quinlan. I live at 17 Reed Street here in Londonderry. I came here for some answers during this town meeting tonight, and I'd like to appoint Kevin Smith to finish talking with my 5 minutes, please.
So we can't yield. However, the council can take a vote to overrule the chair.
I feel like the people wanted some answers, and there's a group of us here that want answers.
I'll make that motion.
All right, I have a motion from Ted. Do I have a second? Second from Ron. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Mr. Smith, you have 5 minutes.
Thank you.
I appreciate it. Appreciate the extra time. So after it was discovered on those three items that I went through, with the town clerk's role and function. It became very clear the town clerk needed to be there more often, had more roles and responsibilities, and that the compensation should reflect such. And so when this was coming up for the second budget season in 2014, I went right to the town attorney. And I said, do we need another warrant article if we're going to adjust the town clerk's compensation given that they're taking on more responsibilities? And he said no. In fact, he said a number of things. He said, number one, he said, you cannot put a time period or a time worked on an elected official's role, whether it's town council, the treasurer, the town clerk. You cannot do that. So you can't say they're part-time, they're full-time. They work as many hours as they need to work to get the job done. Number two, the compensation is set through the budgetary process. The town manager recommends a budget to the town council. The town council recommends a budget to the voters, and then the voters vote on that budget on town meeting day in March. That is how the salary and compensation of the town clerk can be set. That is certainly legal, and that is the way it was done prior to Sherry Farrell ever being elected, and that's the way it's been done since she's been elected. We go through a public budget process every single year to set everyone's compensation, including all of your compensations. This happens in a public hearing process, multiple public hearings, a deliberative session. At any point, anyone from this audience, from the public, any resident could come to any of these meetings and say, I disagree with this salary, and challenge it. They could challenge it at deliberative session. That never happened. But over the years, Sherry and the town clerk's compensation was to reflect the extra duties that were added, the more managerial responsibilities that they took on, and to reflect the market salary studies that were done with clerks in towns this size and how much their duties were. I want to lastly dispel some of the things that I've both heard here and read online. First one is someone saying that Councillor Farrell shouldn't have been voting on the town budget. Again, it's nonsense. I talked to the town attorney about this at the time. Can John vote on the budget because Sherry's salary is included in the overall budget? His answer was yes. If it was a separate line item, then of course he should be recusing himself. Otherwise, he was perfectly fine to do it. No different, by the way, than when Councillor Butler used to vote on the budget, even though his son's salary was part of it. No different, by the way, than when Deb Paul used to vote on the budget, even though some of those monies were used for her newspaper ads. This was all perfectly legal. Number two, it was stated that Sherry was a department head. Sherry was not a department head. Sherry was never part of the union. She is not part of the union. Sherry, at my request, attended department head meetings that I held on a monthly basis. Why? Because it's good communication as somebody who manages a department to be at department head meetings. But she was never designated a department head. And by the way, if you look up on the NHMA website, they also encourage that the town clerk is included in those types of communications and in those meetings. Again, there's a complete nexus between the workload of the town clerk and what the town clerk's compensation is. It was always done in public. And by the way, I would still mention Sherry's salary now, I think, is somewhere around $70,000. The role she took over had a compensation package of, at that time in 2014 dollars, $140,000. The town today is still saving money on this particular position.
Folks, regardless if you agree with what the presenter is saying, I ask that you please have sidebar conversations outside of this room. If you disagree, that's fine. I disagree with some of the things some people have said in this room tonight. I ask for respect. when someone else is up here talking. Mr. Smith, please continue.
Thank you. So there's nothing that has been done illegally. There's no backroom deals. Everything has been transparent. It's been out in public. In fact, former councilor Tom Frieda, God bless him, God rest his soul, he brought this up once during one of the budget seasons. He asked why the town clerk's compensation had gone up since the last year. And we explained about how the town clerk had taken on a greater managerial role and taken on more duties and responsibilities. This came up during a budget process. I am sick and tired of hearing and reading about the lies and misrepresentations of this position. Sherry does a hell of a job. And by the way, yeah, we've had stipends for deputy town clerks and deputy tax collectors. The reason we're doing that is because someday either Sherry's going to lose a position or not run again. Judging from her 90% win percentage in the elections, I'm guessing it'll be when she steps down. But we're going to have to elect a new town clerk. We put deputies in place so that we wouldn't run into a situation again when we have a brand new, inexperienced town clerk. So as the late, great Paul Harvey would say, now you've got the rest of the story.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else?
Just going to give you some information, nothing to speak about. Here's the state laws on how it's supposed to be done.
Thank you.
He's full of it, as normal. Good try, though, Kevin.
Anyone else? Good evening, sir.
Evening. Bob Slater, 1 Stonehenge Road. First off, I'd like to thank the chairman for the past 3 years of your service. I know this is basically your last meeting before elections next week, so I want to thank you for your service. May have had some ups and downs during the way, but I appreciate the time that you put to this community and time away from your family to work for the community. Regarding elections next week, just wanted to express it's going to be a hectic day. We have 6 ballots for the town, 3 for the school. So we have 9 forms that each individual needs to feed into that machine. So allow yourself some time. I've worked the ballot boxes for the last 6-7 years, so got them down pretty good here, and we try to move people pretty quick. So I'm hoping we have the 4 or 5 boxes again to kind of move this along. But people just want the people to know to have a little more patience, even though we may only see 4 or 5, 6,000 people. I'm hoping more, because I think it's more important for more people to come out for these elections than the national election. I honestly do, because it affects what goes on in our town on a year-to-year basis. But please, just people at home, have some patience, a little bit of time. It's not going to be as quick as it was in November. Allow yourself a little bit longer. You're probably going to be at the ballot box for upwards of 40 seconds to a minute feeding into the machine. They work very well. It's just we got 9 ballots to put through there per voter. So just allow everybody some time, and look forward to seeing everybody on Tuesday. So thank you, folks.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Martha Smith, 38 Chester Drive. Good evening. I just want to reiterate what Bob Slater just said. I don't want people to be put off by the fact that there's 9 forms there. It is so important for people to come out and vote on March 11th at the high school gym, because this election matters more to each of our pocketbooks than any other election that we choose to vote in. People came out in swarms for the presidential election. Maybe some of those people, all they voted for on that ballot was for president. I don't know. We all have secret ballots. But this ballot on March 11th really counts. And I'm telling that to everybody in this room, and I'm telling that to everybody at home that's watching this. We have to see you on March 11th. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening.
Good evening. I'm Sherry Farrell, Londonderry Town Clerk, resident of this town that I love and my husband and my family loves me for well over 50 years. I shouldn't be here tonight, but I am. In full disclosure, thank you to Bob and to Martha for really hitting on the extremely important truths in this town. We have an election on March 11th coming up. Our polls open at 6 in the morning. Lots of good people will be there at about 3:45, and they close at 8. Lots of good people will be there until probably 2, 3 in the morning. That's what really matters in this town. In full disclosure, Mr. Belinsky may like to say he has nothing against, and others, nothing against me and my family who are here and again love this community and are devoted to the community. We raised our children here. They are presently and will continue to live, buy homes, prosper, attend and help our small businesses because we love this community. In full disclosure, going way back to Pinkerton Academy, Mr. Belinsky and I, who apparently has nothing against me, graduated together in 1978 from Pinkerton Academy. Since the day I became elected, there have been certain people that have been questioning what I do and what, I might add, my phenomenal tax collector and deputy town clerk do for this community. And I say to them, shame on you. It is not right. It needs to stop. Londonderry, New Hampshire is better than this. And the good people in the back of the room and throughout that came here to talk on our behalf, I thank you. The smallest group are not the loudest, and we cannot allow them to be in our community. It's just not right. Richard and I were two shy, quiet kids. I don't know what went wrong back then, but something might have. 1978. My name is on just about every document in this town. Elections, motor vehicles, vital records, records in general in the community. Has Mr. Belinsky, Miss Paul, any of them ever called my cell? It has been on my business card for 10 years. 603-512-5596. It's all over. People call me all the time. They call Allison all the time. Her role, tax collector should not be full-time. And by the way, I don't get benefits, make clear on that. And I don't make $75,000. I think it's around, Allison was at 71, thank you. And I do not get a stipend for being the deputy tax collector. That was way back when Kathy Donnelly was here. Allison's name is on everything related to your property taxes. My name is on everything representing the town that we love. Anything goes wrong, we do something incorrectly, we're the ones you're going to see on WMUR. And it's not for the positive things that we try to do to promote this town. So I'm asking, please bring back the Londonderry that my family, my husband John Farrell, my kids Mackenzie Farrell, Meredith Farrell, came and stayed in this town for. We are so much better than this. The nasty stuff, the naysaying. If you have a question, make sure you have the right information. It's just not nice, and it's just not who we are in Londonderry, New Hampshire. I tell everyone it's not the best place to live in New Hampshire. It's the best place to live in the world, and I wouldn't want to live anywhere else. And if other people feel everything is so corrupt and behind the scenes, then figure it out. Call the Attorney General's office. That's why they're there. They're good people promoting the good. But it needs to stop. Our newspapers need to be positive and uplifting. They can't be used for other things. And I mean all newspapers. So I'm sorry. I feel horrible. I don't feel well. I shouldn't be here. I started with that. I'll end with that. But again, we are better than this. And to our town council, Chad, thank you for your service. It has not been an easy year. And you had grace under pressure. And I thank you for that. Allison, again, I will publicly thank you for who you are, for having my back, and being a phenomenal deputy town clerk. How many minutes do I have left, or am I done?
10 seconds.
10 seconds. All right. So I'm hoping that from here, and thank you, Kevin, thank you so much for having the grace to stand up and say the truth and be transparent. I ask all of you, we are better than this. Please, let's get back to kindness, having heart, caring for each other. Even the people that hate, my husband and I, we are here for you. We love this community.
Sherry.
Boom. All right? Here I am. Thank you. And I'm sorry to go on and on. Thank you. And thank you to my husband, who is a great, good man in full transparency. And to Ron and Sean, Chad, Ted. Man, it's tough up there, but I'm done. And
thank you.
And thank you.
Thank you. Good evening.
Good evening. Jim Butler, 5 Danbury Court. Past counselor, by the way. Sean, you're doing a great job.
Thank you.
I'm glad I lost to someone that's doing a good job, trust me. With regards to, having arguments and disagreements, I've had arguments and disagreements with Chad. It's public. We know it. But he's a neighbor. He is a friend. We may disagree, but I'll talk to you. And I wish you the best of luck and thank you for what you've done. Because I've been in that position, not chairman. I never decided to take that position. But thank you very much. I do appreciate it. Now, with regards to Sherry Farrell, I've known Sherry Farrell for, 20 years. I've been in town 34 years. I've had my 3 boys go through the school system. I've got 7 grandkids. All 3 boys live in this town. They pay taxes in this town, and they're part of the youth movement in this town, which is very important. I can tell you that I sat on the board when the whole issue of the clerk came up, and the description that I heard from Kevin is accurate. It's accurate. And I know it was vetted by the attorney, and at the time, I believe the attorney was Mike Ramsdell, who was one of the top attorneys in New Hampshire at the time. He's retired. We shouldn't have to put any of our employees through what Sherry's going through. I know where this started. This started on Hall Road, the dump, with Richard, and 2 Litchfield Road with Deb Paul. John was sitting at the board at that time. There were tough decisions that had to be made. After that, all I have seen is just a battle, and it's a disgrace. John bends over backwards. We've been out when we had a pipe bomb on Mammoth Road and what it was, 3 degrees below zero, to see how our public safety officials do. He takes the time. Sherry's probably one of the most important people in town. People love her. She's popular. She does a great job, and she deserves the money that she's getting. So there's always 2 sides to every story. But I assure you, I've been in this town for 34, 36 years, and the Farrells don't deserve what they're getting. You may disagree with them. I've disagreed with John. John and I have gone at it. Trust me. But he's a friend. And Sherry's a friend. And I think it's a disgrace what's happened. I truly do. And it needs to stop. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. With that,
I just had one item. There was a quick clarification from the member who spoke, first name was Ted. You had mentioned that apartment buildings in town were going to be getting the commercial industrial tax credit program.
No, I just meant there's a lot going up.
Okay, you had included that in your statement, so I just want to make sure that they're not part of the commercial industrial tax program. Thank you.
all right, with that, I'll closed public comment. I'll accept the motion as you were.
If you wouldn't
Yeah,
mind.
go ahead, Mr. Farrell.
There's a whole discussion here about impact fees, just in transparency. State law says portions of impact fees with restrictions. Yes, Ms. Karen and I have been talking for several months about impact fees. And she's working, she has it on our list of things to do. The impression that I'm an expert at impact fees, I'm not an expert at impact fees. What we know is they didn't work for us. So we moved to development agreements. To make it very simple, she's going to come back to the future town council with recommendations of what to do. Why have I been talking to her about that for months? Because people keep coming in here with misinformation about impact fees. That's why. So we can make whatever claims we made about whatever I wrote on my election page and say whatever it is we're going to say. But Miss Karen is the expert. She's going to come back with recommendations to the council, not John Farrell. John Farrell just read what state law said. A portion of the impact fees can be used, a portion. There's different ways, there's different ordinances, there's different laws. Yes, there are things where you can create laws where you can have funds that do certain things, yes. But she's the expert, not me, never claimed to be. That's what that's all about. So thank you.
Thank you. All right, with that, I'll close public comment. Town manager update. So effective February 11th, 2025, the town council had appointed Police Chief Kim Bernard as acting town manager for a period not to exceed 120 days. In accordance with Article 4 of the Charter, the town council is seeking to appoint a permanent town manager. An executive search was initiated on January 7th, 2025, and following its completion, the town council has selected Sean Mulholland as its top candidate for the position. Mr. Mulholland possesses the required experience, education, training, and qualifications for the role of town manager. The council believes that this this extensive municipal experience, including his 7 years of serving as the city manager of Lebanon, New Hampshire, make him an ideal candidate for the position. Should the town council approve this resolution to appoint Mr. Mulholland as town manager, the appointment will be effective June 1st, 2025. With that, any comments from the council?
Yeah, I'll just say a few things.
Yep.
So I got a lot of questions about people that said we should wait till the next council. I disagree. This council spent 4 months searching for a candidate. We spent countless hours trying to find the right person. And to have a new person who's elected, 1 or 2 people new to this council, to come here, I don't think is a service to our candidate that we have chosen. For 5 of us to agree on one person, as you guys know, we spent 2 months trying to find somebody that was interim. So for 5 people to agree on one person, I think that's pretty impactful. Plus, we do Sean a disservice if we don't say something before the election, because he's already announced to his staff that he may be leaving. And there was a Valley News article saying that this council was going to talk about it tonight. So I feel like for the 5 of us to agree that Sean's the right individual, that should say a lot to the community, because it took us 2 months to find an interim person. And at the same time, we had a lot of residents come up during public comment and ask us how long it was going to take us to find the next town manager. And we feel like we have the right person, and I feel like if we delay this vote, it's not the right thing to do tonight.
If I could add to that.
Yeah.
I also have seen the ideas, and yes, we have an election next Tuesday, but the reality is, okay, we wait. We have to start over interview processes. We have to have new town councilors sit through interview processes and make that. We have to go back, pull in all other candidates, and extend this out. Candidates don't just wait. You've got a process that's been going on for months. This is not a rush, and you're not just going to start from scratch because certain people want to think they should be part of the decision. We don't stop town council meetings in January and just don't have any or make any decisions at all because there's an election. We have to conduct business and go forward. This has been a long, long time coming since Mike resigned in October. And we put a lot of work into this. So this is not a sudden, we're ramming this through. This has been a lot.
Anything else?
I'd just like to add that certainly I think having a vote of this where we don't always agree on everything, whether it be different resolutions or different amendments or how we spend money in town, coming together and actually agreeing upon this position as a group of 5, I think actually shows a lot to the town that we've actually come to some unison.
I agree.
Motion for roll call vote.
All right, so I have a motion from Ted for a roll call vote. Do I have a second?
From John.
I mean John, thank you. I stand corrected. Motion from John. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second from Ted. Roll call vote.
I, Sean Faber.
I, Ted Combs.
I, Chad Franz.
Hi, Ron Dunn.
Just to make everybody happy, since there's an election next week, I will abstain.
All right, so the vote is 4-0. I'm sorry, 4 in favor, 1 abstain. This will be effective again. Mr. Mulholland will start June 1st. And I would expect, I don't want to encumber other town councils, but I would expect he'll come in and introduce himself to the community prior to that time. So with that, we'll move on. Congratulations, Mr. Mulholland, and we look forward to your service to our community. I'll accept the motion to open the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Motion from Ted, second from Ron. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Resolution, chair votes in the affirmative. Resolution 2025-02, adoption of the Pettingale Road Area Tax Increment Financing TIF District. Ms. Kelly Karen, good evening.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So if the council doesn't mind, I'll do a brief introduction to the resolution, and then I do have a presenter who I'll also introduce to take us the rest of the way.
Perfect, thank you.
So with respect to the Pettingale Road Area TIF District, that is Tax Increment Financing District, the Pettingale Road Area's infrastructure needs have been a topic of discussion for nearly a decade. While TIF District was established in 2013 to address said infrastructure demands at the time, additional traffic and infrastructure upgrades are now necessary to support both existing and new development. So given that, the town has, for the past 1 to 2 years, been exploring the creation of a new TIF district to fund these improvements. And to assist in this process, we've engaged with Stu Arnett of Arnett Development Group, who brings extensive experience with TIF districts, both in Londonderry. He was behind the 2013 TIF district for this area, as well as other districts in New Hampshire. So we have a brief presentation, and then we'll take questions.
Thank you. Good evening, sir.
Good evening. Can people hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. And I apologize to be standing here with my back to everybody, but there's no other way to do this, I don't think, right? So I'm here. Okay. So it's wonderful to be back. Nice to see some familiar faces again. As Kelly just mentioned,
Sir, could you speak up just a bit, please?
I'm almost swallowing the microphone here, so it's not me.
I'm not sure the mic's on.
The green light is on.
There's a lot of noise out there.
Mr. Chair, can we take a...
Yeah, we'll take a 5-minute recess.
I can go address that, please.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Volume 2, by the way.
Okay.
Yeah.
So are we good to go, or we need to wait?
They're monsters.
Yeah, everybody's good to go.
Okay.
People should just be nice to people. Yeah, I'm sorry, and your name is? Robin, nice to meet you. So we're sorry. I mean, my wife grew up here. I married her. I've been doing this. I didn't want to keep doing this. Honestly, I was really hoping that this was going to be one of my...
Mr. Chair, I think we're ready to roll.
All right.
I'm hanging in because...
All right, we are reconvened. So, good evening, folks. Thank you for that quick recess. Good opportunity. So, good evening, sir.
Is this better? Can people hear? People hear?
Yes.
Okay, it's better.
Hi,
Nice to see you, Mr. Counselor Severo. Stu Arnett with ADG. ADG is a private company located in Concord. We're in our 18th year of being in business. It's a family-owned business. We do basically planning and development work for municipalities, not-for-profits. In the last couple of years, we've been doing a lot of helping smaller communities, coaching them into trying to get access to federal funds and not-for-profits and stuff. So that's kind of our mission. I'm very happy to be back. I hadn't realized how much, hadn't done the math until it was just mentioned, but we started our contract with Londonderry in 2012 doing planning and development projects. I think we had 21 work orders between 2012 and like 2018 and stuff, including a couple of things you mentioned today. But one I'm very happy to work with the town on because I think it's been a success is the 2013 TIFs. There's actually two of them at the airport industrial area. So good to see some familiar faces and stuff. Let me go through the thing. Anything in New Hampshire that has the word tax in it tends to get people excited. So I'll just point out again that a TIF incremental district has to do entirely with use of revenues. It does not touch tax rates, does not touch tax assessment. It doesn't change when taxes are paid. To be in or be out of a district is invisible to the taxpayer, and we'll go a little bit more into that. But it's entirely about how revenues from a district can be applied. It's a tool, it's not a requirement. Oftentimes when towns do this, they do basically two things at once. They do the district, which we're doing tonight, and then subsequently they roll right into a decision to bond or to enter into some kind of contract and commit funds. We've always suggested to towns that they do that in two very distinct steps, and that is what's happening tonight. There is no decision to make any kind of appropriation or schedule anything to do with spending. In fact, there's not even a commitment to pursue the infrastructure. It just, again, is a tool to allow you to use new incremental revenue if it comes in. Before I go into a quick slideshow, I do want to thank Kelly and your assessor's office to help us put some of the numbers together. So I think we've got a pretty good tool to let you use it. So I'll go up to, you got the clicker? Okay. So the idea, again, of the district is to first to help you with traffic safety issues. The second one is to improve overall infrastructure in the area. And in the narrative, we talk about infrastructure being basically capital projects. And then the third thing is to help you do tax-based expansion. The graphic up on the screen is the actual proposed road that wasn't there yet when we did the 2013 TIF districts. And now the primary focus on this is to improve traffic safety on the existing road because the area has been a success enough that we need to do some additional turning lanes and traffic controls. We do want to leave it open enough so that things like sidewalk enhancements or traffic lights or crossing lights or bus kiosks or whatever come up. And there's also the potential of running water and sewer into different parts of the district as time goes on. One of the things that makes the district There's two things to remember about it. One is that the funds are limited to what's coming out of the district, but also the investment can only go into the district. So you can't use revenue coming out of here to pay for something outside the district, nor can you use revenues coming from outside the district to pay for infrastructure coming in. It has to be both the revenues and any potential expenditures have to be within the district. Okay, that's the purpose. Here is, just to give you a flashback, in 2013 we had a district established. You can see it on, I guess, as everybody's left. It's actually pretty similar to the one that's going to be shown to you in a minute. It's very similar. Because of some neighbors' concerns that were in residential areas, we actually revised it and made it smaller. Again, it doesn't change anybody's taxes or tax rates, but versus bringing this issue, we just made it smaller. And so actually there were two districts. One paid off its obligation pretty quickly, and so the second one was created, paid its obligations off, and then it was closed. So that's why you do not have a district in place today, but what you'll see in a second is very similar to what was adopted in 2013. So this is very quickly, this is what a district does. On the right, this came right off your website, is a breakdown of the tax rate and, more importantly, where it goes. And it's a little hard to see some of the numbers, but you can see where the tax revenues go into different categories, and the town is the red. It's 23, 21%, whatever it is. The school is the majority of it. So any tax dollar any new tax dollar that comes in without a district would mean that those same four entities would get that same percentage from that dollar. If you put a district in place, it means everything that's in place on day one doesn't change. None of this goes retroactive. You don't reduce anything you've been getting. All those entities get the same percentage as they would have gotten without the district. But what happens is incremental or new revenue that comes in after the district is put in place based on new development. Remember, there's no change in the tax rate. There's no change in the assessment. 100% of that is set aside for district infrastructure investment. And that investment can be cash. You can use it to pay for, oftentimes people, as they assemble some money, use it for paying for soft costs like design engineering. If you decide to do bonding, it can be used for servicing your bond. And then if there is surplus in any year above what the obligations are, the council can decide to either bank that, use it in next year's, or they can decide to split it with the operating entities if that's their call every year. The only requirement on use of the revenues is if there is a obligation of the town, 100% of the proceeds must be used to pay that obligation's debt service for that year before doing anything else. So you're not sticking the general obligation fund for paying off that IOU. So everything prior stays the way it was. From the district, only the new funds, and then they are dedicated to the district's infrastructure. Next one. So this is the district that's being proposed. The red line is the outside perimeters. You can see it's kind of looks like the other one. What Kelly has done is a nice job with the assessor's office of coming up with a color code there, which is basically 3 stages of anticipated build out, trying to get some sense of what might the revenues look like going forward. And by the way, I should have said this to start with. One of the reasons we're here now and not next month or 2 months from now is the date for assessing adoption is April 1st. So if you do not adopt a district before April 1st, you essentially lose the increment for that year. So part of why you're here in March is because I've been saying we got to get this done before April, because so you don't lose another year. What's shown here is 3 things: is things that are already built out, those that are what the planning office is calling imminent because they have plans, they have people have come in and got site plan reviews, and other sites that are people are looking at future development, but there's nothing other than some questions and some interest. So that acreage, by the way, is right at the 5% rate, which is the statutory limit for a zone. So that's as big as it's going to get. Next. This also just off your website, just sort of show the past effect of, amongst other things, of having a growth in your tax base. You can see 2013, 13-14, where we'll be kicking that in from the TIF district. Even though your ratio is over 100%, you can still see your rate has come down. We'll show you some numbers here in a minute about how much both tax base and revenue has come out of that area. We have the privilege of working with communities all over the state, and most of them have a tax rate that's at least twice yours. It's rare for us to see somebody who isn't in, well, not all of them twice, but high 20s to mid 30s per thousand. So congratulations for whatever else. You've done an amazing job to keep that tax base that low. And that sense of district. Okay, next. We're almost there. So just some numbers. The existing tax base of the whole town is 6.9 billion. That's what all those numbers are. Almost 7. In the district, within that red line, is tax valuations of about 285 million. And by the way, we have a very elaborate spreadsheet that's photocopied and almost illegible on the back of this, but there is a real one you can read, and it's active and all those good things. Because it's hard to get a big spreadsheet on an 8.5 by 11 page. In this past year, before April 1st, the year you're in now, the district, the revenues coming out of the district are about $4.5 million. So that's $4.5 million over when we started this. Probably there was $500,000 coming out of the district, if that. So it's probably a net increase of $4 million plus since it was first put in place. If you take the what the assessor's office has said is they're have already sent the assessments to new property owners, but they haven't picked it up because it doesn't get picked up to April 1st. There's another $29 million in that district that is there. You can go out and kick the tires. And from that, you end up with a net surplus coming out of the revenue of the district of about $450,000. So if you put it in place before April 1st, make it effective before the 1st, that means you have 450, perhaps more, because there's more things that may be picked up that will allow you to start your investment in the district. Okay. So with that, I'll stop for Q&A. I'm sure we'll have some. And again, it's good to be back and happy to answer questions.
Yeah. I guess question, on staff on the goal of which roads that we'd be looking to potentially improve upon. Are we looking to stop at the intersection of Pettingill and Harvey Road, or are we potentially going to go past that and further down Harvey Road?
So the focus is on the Pettingill Road corridor, which includes all of Pettingill, and the intersections of those other roads that, like Harvey, Grenier Field, Page, that may connect into Pettingill. So that's why the district boundary goes beyond Pettingill Road itself.
Okay.
Because the traffic that impacts that area comes from Page Road, Grenier Field Road, Harvey Road.
I was just going off of one of the slides that Stu had presented upon it. For people at home or in the public, it may seem like we were going to only improve that one section of Pettingill. I just wanted to make sure for people at home. Thank you.
Can I bring up something else that should have been in a presentation? It's not in the slides, but it's in the narrative very explicitly. One of the requirements of a plan is a financial plan. Oftentimes, a district is put in place to do a project, so you know ahead of time, we're going to do this sewer line, we know this. That's not the case here. What the town knows is that there are some issues to fix, but there's also some capacity to build, and there's potential going forward. So how do you know that how do you control that? And so we have a very specific line in the narrative, which you will be looking at to approve, and I can point out if you want. It says, unless the funds are available, the 454 plus, or are trying to think of the term certain, because you know that assessor says they're coming in, you can't spend them. So unless funds are in hand, you can't spend them. So you can't borrow unless you know you've got the note more than covered. You can't enter a contract that's more than what you have in hand or you're willing to borrow. So it's a way of keeping the fund from ever getting underwater, so to speak. So if you don't have it, you just have to wait until such time as it does build up. And we have seen other TIF districts. A good example is Route 3 in Bedford. Waited a couple years before they did their whole widening so they could accrue cash. It's just by putting it in the plan, it says thou shalt not.
Kelly, how many TIFs have we done so far? Is it 3?
I think maybe 4. I believe there was one in the Woodmont area, or maybe
So this will be number 5?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else from the council?
I would say that the use of TIFs in Londonderry, and Stu, correct me based on what you see around the state, is we've been very effective and very efficient at opening and closing them and putting the tax rolls out quickly. Would you say that's accurate?
Well, you could show back that slide there that you open and close 2 in 1 year is pretty remarkable. Most of them are 5, 10 years.
I just wanted to ask the question so that everybody could hear you say that we're doing it quickly and better than others.
You certainly do it quicker, and I've never seen a district pay itself off that fast. It's remarkable, and when I tell people we work on them, I'm happy to say, and we had something to do with Londonderry's success.
Thank you.
Has there been any other district across the state that has generated this much economic output?
Counselor, I can't say. I haven't worked on one that has, and we've worked on a lot. It certainly is, I think, seen as an exemplary project. A TIF doesn't change your master plan. It doesn't change your land use regs. Mm-hmm. So a TIF doesn't guarantee that what you're doing is a good thing or doesn't say it's a bad thing.
No, I'm just curious about
but it's just a really effective tool to pay for that infrastructure. One of the questions someone might ask is, well, why not just get that 23% and use that? The reason you want to do a TIF and get 100% of that new is you can do everything bigger, better, faster. So instead of doing that traffic fix at 23%, you have it so you can get it done tomorrow because now you've captured that. If you should go out and borrow, then that means you can pay that bond down essentially 4 times faster than you can, saving a taxpayer 4 times as much interest costs. So if it's a good idea, a TIF's a great financing tool.
So for me, this is one of the best benefits about this. I've been talking all year periodically about how this town needs to take a look at its infrastructure, needs to take a look at its traffic situation holistically. I think this is a good start for that area that doesn't burden the entire tax base of the town, but still gets us what we need in a quick manner, because I think we're behind in that and we need to address it quickly and in short order.
Yes, sir.
This is my last question. Is I guess for staff and for Stu, do you guys know how much cost-wise, I wasn't on the council at the time, that building out a Pettingill Road had cost the town?
In 2013?
Yeah.
I believe the estimate was somewhere around $12 to $13 million.
Yeah, I was going to say that too.
That sounds about right.
Yeah. So thinking back upon if we had bonded all that money and how much money that has saved the town by doing it in this method, it's quite significant. Would you say so, John?
Yeah, now primarily we've been using development agreements in Pettingill Road, right?
Yes, and for FedEx, FW Web, those larger facilities, we have development agreements that address these type of infrastructure improvements. Yep.
Right.
Yep.
So, and we've used probably over a dozen of those.
I think a dozen is probably accurate.
Yeah, if I can remember, John, you were chair, but there was a combination. As everyone probably knows, in the planning process, you can, you can ask an applicant to pay for the impacts on infrastructure that they directly cause. So if there's no traffic problem and all of a sudden I'm going to put 10,000 cars out there, then I have to pay for that. This situation, because there wasn't any road yet, there was no way of saying the first one or two in were going to cause everything, but they clearly were going to cause something. And so that's why you had the mixture of a developer agreement that said they'll pay for their portion of, and then the town picked up the remainder. You also had an issue where the developer could move much faster, and there was a real issue that if you didn't have something open by a date, it wouldn't happen. And so that's why there was a really nice tag team where the private side started it, and then the things that took longer, like DES approval and stuff, the town took over.
Thank you.
All right, so I'm going to go to the public. We're in public hearing. If anyone would like to talk regarding Resolution 2025-02, adoption of the Pettingill Road area TIF, please come forward.
Do I stay here, or you want me here?
Do you mind?
Please.
Marge Bedoy, 189 Litchfield Road. In the financing agreement, if we decide to bond, would that bond still require a warrant article?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
any bonds require a warrant article and has to have 2/3 of the vote, I believe.
Yeah.
3/5 runs.
I'm sorry, Mr. I interrupted you.
No.
This would not affect any town procurement process.
Okay.
So whatever the bonding, contracting, RFP, you still have to do it the same way you would anyway.
Anything else? Thank you. Good evening.
Good evening, Ray Breslin, 3 Gary Drive. This is kind of, although I knew there's been discussion about this, this is kind of the first really been brought forward to explain what this is, and I'm not sure I understand it, but I think we're talking about a TIF district to provide money to put in more roads, widen roads. Does this also include other infrastructure, meaning water, sewer, and things like that? Is that part of what you would be looking to do here, or are you just talking about roads?
I believe it would also be water and sewer. Is that correct, Kelly?
There's language in the proposed plan that allows for use of funds for infrastructure, including water and sewer, if necessary.
Yeah. And electricity, cable, etc. All of that.
Utilities.
All of that. And do we have any idea what the cost is?
So we have a rough estimate of total cost for the Pettingill Road improvements. We need to finalize that number with a consultant before we make a wild projection. But based on 2013 numbers of $12 to $13 million, I think if you were to escalate that to today's dollars, you could get an idea of what the total cost for a full build-out would be.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like there's a lot here kind of proposed, some of which don't even sound like it's been decided. And so I'm not sure I understand how this is going to be financed. Where's this money coming from? You're going to float a bond? Oh.
No.
No.
Where's the money coming from?
Comes from the district, right? So that's why we're creating the tax increment
Oh,
financing district.
okay. So the buildings, the businesses that are currently there, the tax that they are paying is going to pay for this.
No. It'll only become from new businesses that
Well,
add to the district.
well,
Is that correct, Stu and Kelly?
Correct. The increment is whatever is added after you adopt your base.
Correct.
So again, it's hard to read it, but you've got the 454 is coming from new development that wasn't there a year ago.
But everyone that's been paying taxes already will not be paying into this new TIF. We will still be collecting it into the general fund.
And so this is proposed new development that may be coming, that we think's coming,
Correct.
but we're not sure of.
Yep.
Although the assessor gave us the number of the assessor has sent out new assessment cards for $29 million.
That is a number that we know.
That's the number we already know. See it right there?
On land that's sitting there is going to be taxed.
In the district, right.
Yep.
It's designed, district is designed to be self-funding, Ray, just like sewer is designed to be self-funding.
That's the idea.
That's
yeah,
the idea.
That's the idea, yeah. No federal money.
We
No
have
federal
nothing.
money on Pettingill Road, which is coming off Route 3. No state or federal money.
So Ray Resort Drive was built with state and federal money.
Correct.
Correct.
But not what we're anticipating here, Pettingill Road.
Think about it this way. We can only do so if you're paying $5,000 in taxes on a piece of land, we can only use that $5,000 to be done inside that piece of land that you own.
Yeah.
It's like that.
Yeah.
make
Investing in a proposed project that's going to potentially bring in tax money to the town of Londonderry.
I don't know exactly what formula they're going to use, but the funding has to come out of the district.
Yeah, but this the federal state, this doesn't affect it one way or the other.
Correct.
It would be very unique to have a transportation project or a sewer project that doesn't have either state or federal funds. But this could be used for your state matching portion or whatever it is. And we specifically even put in a thing said you can also use it for grant match.
Thank you for that clarification.
Okay, so it looks like this is an idea, it's worked in the past, and so it's maybe good. But in the meantime, I'm thinking about the rest of Londonderry here. And we have traffic issues here in the town of Londonderry that are in the DOT's 10-year plan that are not being addressed. That would be Rockingham Road, and
Right.
we're talking about multi-billion, okay.
Right now, we're just talking about this particular TIF district within this region. We do not have a proposed TIF district for another part of town.
Mhm.
Or improvements that we're talking about right now within this public hearing.
So Ray, this would help with a lot of the traffic that's on Pettingill right now. So it would
What is the
address
problem?
one area.
What is the problem? What is the problem with traffic on Pettingill Road?
Go up there at 4:00 in the afternoon, Ray.
I'm not going to.
Or in the morning.
Or if, yeah.
I'm not going to. I'm not going
just
to.
say that's the problem.
So the people that work there, getting there, it's a problem.
Or even cross regionally. They
Yeah.
use that road on a
Okay.
daily basis.
Okay. Thank you for letting me speak.
I apologize having my back to everybody. It feels very strange.
You're good, Stu. Anyone else?
Your face is to the camera, if that makes you feel better.
Oh,
So everybody at home.
Now I really feel bad for everybody else.
Dan Bouchard, 8 O'Connell Drive. Excuse me. So the money goes into this fund. Can you explain how the monies get released for the project? Because it's not like we're going to vote on it, right?
It's part of your budget process.
So it goes, what, for a warrant article?
Whatever they decide to do with it, that's what they decide to do with it.
So how do you decide
It's
to
just
release
revenue
the
like
funds?
any other revenue.
Nobody seems to answer.
I'm sorry, ask your...
The finance guy's not here right now, so I don't want to give you incorrect information. I just don't remember off the top of my head.
How it was done in the past?
Mechanism is we use to release it.
Essentially, it's
Do
going
you
to
remember?
require a vote from the council to utilize the funds. If
Yeah.
you're talking about bonding or something of that nature, it requires a vote of the people.
Right, so if I'm trying to remember, right, so in a TIF, what we do is once the money goes into the fund, we treat it as, let's just say as an example, as a separate bank account, and then we release the money as needed from that account.
Correct.
The council does, the legislative
That's my
body.
understanding.
Just like you would any other...
Sorry,
Right.
Just like
we haven't
any
done it in
other-
a while, I just don't remember.
Yeah, that's all I want to know. I just want to know how it,
Yeah, I just couldn't remember.
I didn't know if you had to go to the town warrant and put a warrant article for it, which to me would kind of delay everything, but if you're going to be releasing it from the town council for the projects.
The district is it doesn't affect the taxpayers.
Exactly, I understand that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Deb Paul, 118 Hardy Road. Can you just tell me the difference in the actual area of landmass size between the old one and the new one? Like, what is the difference? Is it? I couldn't tell by the map. It was really hard to. It looked almost the same size to me. That's why.
Pretty much is.
I'm sorry?
Both are about 5% from 2013 to now.
Yeah, the acreage is on, but they're.
I don't have anything. It didn't come out till 2:30, so I didn't get time to
It's hard to see.
download it or look at it. So I'm sorry.
So the new district is 5.2% of Londonderry. It's 1,407 acres. Am I reading that correct, Kelly?
Yep.
So that's the new one, Ted, right?
New one, yes. And then the proposed one that was in 2013, July 30th, was 1,204 acres, which was 4.8% of Londonderry at that time.
So it's.
And then there was that other map, which does not have a percentage.
So 2013 was about 4.8%, and this proposed is 5.2% total area.
And so you have the acreage on both, right? It's like a.
Yes.
It's like a 200-acre difference, if I heard you
I think
right.
it's a couple parcels, right?
Okay, so it's 200 more acres?
Yeah, sounds
Yes.
like, yeah.
Yep.
Okay, I was just trying to understand it.
Yep.
And I just kind of want to know also, do we actually have a plan in motion to fix this traffic issue up there? I mean, I don't. I mean, how are we
So
moving? I mean, I know we're going to put this in place, and we are putting it in place. I keep hearing for traffic, right?
Yeah, so there are several benefits of this TIF, as
I
Stu and
understand.
Kelly had discussed earlier. One of the benefits could be used for is traffic improvement. When you look at the establishment of the previous TIF and the establishment of the road and how the signalized intersections were created, it was deliberate that the reach of the lights was for not to encumber future widening of that road. So yes, it could be used as one of the traffic mitigation.
Well, that's what I
could be
heard. Mainly was the traffic. You guys said 4 o'clock in the
used.
morning.
It was right, and it was
crazy,
also
yada, yada, yada.
it was also said
And I knew that-
infrastructure and
I'm sorry.
No, I'm sorry. Infrastructure, utilities, and stuff. Too.
Okay, because I did know that we made that road so it could be widened.
Yep.
Correct.
Right.
Right? There was so all the basics should
The
be there.
basins,
Yeah.
the lights.
Right away is wide.
Okay, and
Yep.
did we add infrastructure the first time? I mean, is that now going to have to be removed, like moved out, or is it already on the out?
Some exist. The road was originally intended to be 4 lanes.
Right, I remember
So
that.
that's what we're talking about now is the expansion of that.
Right.
There are some infrastructure improvements that might need to be added in addition to what exists, as well as some geometric reconfiguring of the road, adding lanes, adjusting traffic lights to address some of the queue length issues, things of that nature.
So my other question is, by doing this and having all this in place and allowing this, are we opening up access to land that may not be being used? It would be used anyway, correct?
Correct.
Okay, I just got to understand things. I'm sorry. And once we put the TIF in place, is there a time limit? Like it's going to go in place from this time to the, like, so say we put it in and I don't know, the whole economy tanks and nothing's being built anywhere. What happens? It just sunsets or?
Just the.
Stu.
Huh?
Let's Stu speak.
Can I answer?
Yes.
I'm sorry, Stu.
That's all right. No, I just feel strange looking up. The only requirement to end a district is if you bond, or if you have any kind of debt on it. It can be just a straight tan or anything else. And you pay that off, then you have to close it. So it's kind of a backwards way of saying it. If you don't bond, you can perpetually leave it there forever. The real check, what happens on that, Deborah, is if it stays forever and that balance keeps getting higher and higher,
Yeah.
those other three government units are going to say, we want you to start putting it back in the general fund. And so that's why I said if there's a surplus, then this group can say, all right, we'll either put all of it back in for now or put half of it back in. But typically, I mean, there have been towns that have had a district in place for 30 years, but it's not very much. Typically, if you see I work with another town, I won't say what it is, but they've been sitting a couple years and the cash is building up because they want to be able to make it's a fairly expensive first stage. It's like a $12 million first stage. But the school board, the county commissioners and stuff are going, boy, that looks like a lot of funds, and if you put that back in the general fund, we could drop the thing. So there isn't anything that stops that other than the groups that are sort of having their income deferred are going to say, hey, we understand you have to do some of it, but after 10 years or something,
Yeah.
it ain't going to work.
So I just.
But
have
if you
another-
borrow, then you pay it off, then you do close up.
So I think, just to add, so to your question about what's the plan, how much is it going to cost? So we've been engaging with a consultant to Stantec, who we use for many projects in town, to get an understanding of what upgrades are needed around Pettingill Road. And we have a potential, the ability to contract with them to finalize that estimate. There's a fee associated with finalizing the estimate.
Right.
And so we weren't going to proceed and spend thousands of dollars finalizing that until we had an understanding of whether or not this TIF district was going to be approved, if it's feasible.
Right.
So my point is, we will have a formal plan as far as what upgrades need to be made to this area, and we will have a number. And so having that number essentially puts a cap on the time that you need to have the district. Once the number for the improvements is known and finalized, then you can say, once it's paid off and the upgrades are done, you don't need the TIF district anymore.
Okay.
So that's the intent, is to close it, not to keep it.
Thank you very much for explaining it in simple terms for us dummies.
Deb, you're not a dummy.
Oh, yeah.
Please don't say that.
But
We know better.
I need to ask Mr. Stewart one more question.
Sure.
And from what I heard from Kelly, in your professional opinion, and I know you've been doing this stuff for many, many, many years, we've worked on a few things together, is it good or better to have in place what Kelly just said, a plan, a set established plan that you want to accomplish with the TIF, as opposed to just saying, oh, we got a TIF and whatever, someday we'll maybe, better to have, in your professional opinion, doing what Kelly just stated is, getting a summary of what it's going to cost and how it's going to get rid of some of the problem up there with the traffic that we talked about. Is that the best way to set it up, or the safest way, or the smartest way? Or is it what I just said, just let it sit there? Because it seems like you get more closure having a plan, like Kelly just said. Is that correct?
Am I allowed to offer opinion here?
Absolutely.
You're the professional here.
The best predictor of future behavior is past behavior.
Yeah. It's more information is always better.
Okay.
As Kelly said, this was an expensive piece of information to go the next step on, so we wanted to make sure that you were going to do it before we got that. I do understand from meeting, if I understand right, from Stantec and your DPW, that the town is being told it must do some things eventually, or you're not going to be able to develop that. And there's some smaller fixes and there's some bigger fixes, and so if I guess what we're trying to do is not to say let's build it and hope they'll come, because we don't want that to happen. So that's why instead of saying, all right, here's project one that costs this and stuff, because those are all no one really knows yet. That's why we put the cap in, saying, okay, whatever you bring in, make sure the money's there, or else you can't spend it. And that's like the ultimate cap of a project, saying until there's money in hand, don't come back. So that's the best we could do.
Okay, I just kind of wanted to get a better understanding.
It'd be really nice if we could say, here is the bid, and we know this, but that's an expensive answer to have.
Okay, so, and that kind of answers the question for the sunsetting of it, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I just needed to look at my notes.
And that's why, by the way, that's why it says infrastructure, but you can't now start putting elementary schools and stuff. You can't start adding on to it. That's why the plan is limited to what it does allow, because if it's not in the plan, you can't do it.
Okay, and so it's kind of like we're saying, if you plan on coming, we're going to do all of this, and then you do this. So my only big concern is if you have a TIF district in place up there, can those businesses that have applied for the incremental tax thing, can they do both, or do they have to have one or the other?
So we'll actually address that in the next presentation, but essentially, if you're
kind of goes
the
hand
council
in
doesn't
hand.
mind,
Thank you.
there's a provision that's been added to the exemption ordinance that specifically speaks to that very question, and it
In the next thing.
correct.
It just, I wouldn't want to see
There's
both things
essentially
happen.
there's language that allows the council to deny an application or tell an applicant that is within both or applying for an exemption and in the TIF that it's one or the other.
Okay, so they will not be able to do both. And,
Yeah, they almost counterbalance each other. Yeah.
Okay, and I guess my next question, and I don't know if it should wait for here or there, is the 5 pieces that were grandfathered in. I think some of them are up there, and I don't know if they're in that.
One of them was.
One of them's in that TIF, yeah? So because
actually,
they were
2.
grandfathered in before this, that doesn't apply, right? They can't say all of a sudden, we don't want to
Correct.
do the
Correct. They can't
tax
then,
increment thing, we want to do this, right? You know what I mean?
yeah, so are you asking if the council can go back on their decision for the exemption? No, they can't.
Okay. Thank you very much. Do you want to go?
No, just
Okay.
one second.
Derek?
Kevin Smith, 6 King Phillip Drive. Just a clarification on the last thing that was said. The TIF is not a benefit to any business. In other words, a business is not benefiting by being in the TIF district. They're still paying their full taxes.
100%.
Okay. I just wanted to clarify that because this is not a tax incentive for a business per se, unlike the next ordinance that's coming up.
Correct. If you're in or out of the district, unless you're watching this tonight, you wouldn't know the difference. Your tax rate's the same, your assessment's the same. The one positive as far as it being an incentive is an incentive for future businesses, because you can now say to them, we have the ability to upgrade something if that's what your facility requires.
Kelly, regardless of the TIF district or not, future business has to go through all the same process as every other business, through all the land use boards and everything else with applications, site
Correct.
review, engineering, all that stuff.
Because it
correct?
doesn't affect any land use stuff.
Thank you.
Robin Stewart, 522 Old Mammoth. If they're in the TIP, and I assume that is their infrastructure stays within the TIP? Yes?
Correct.
That you're
Correct.
So you just got done talking about Pettingill go up there at 4 a.m., 4 p.m. Well, we live up there, and so that affects all of us outside of that little area. So what do you do with that? Because you've granted the next thing to come up for us is that village PUD. What are you doing for us? Because none of that money is going to save us, right?
So actually, it will help somewhat, because if you ease traffic in that area, it keeps it from spreading out into those surrounding. So it does help getting controls in there right. This doesn't mean this is the only thing we're going to do as a council. I've been saying we need to start looking at everywhere in town, not just here. But this is a start and an effective way to do this without burdening the taxpayers, because infrastructure and roads are expensive. And so we've got to try to take every advantage we can to correct some of these. This is just one of those high use areas where we can get something done.
I know, because we live there, and I was told that you weren't going to do anything for Page Road at that intersection of Grenier, Page, and Old Mammoth.
Yeah. So,
And, pardon me?
please, I'm sorry.
So it might not. I mean, obviously the traffic has totally increased already because you have the buildings across the street, and you tore down all the bushes on the end of White's Tavern, which I can't understand why you didn't just have the builder move the line across the street. I understand it's expensive, but you have to have respect for what was part of this town long before you decided to create all these things. But having said all that, how's that going to change anything for us?
So let me try to ask Kelly a question. So are any of the traffic studies we've received for any of the area developments there called for improvements on Page and Mammoth there?
Page and Mammoth at the light?
So at the end of Old Mammoth and Page there, not at the light, up in the village.
At the four-way.
Right.
Has any of the traffic studies called for improvements there?
I believe the Village on Technology Hill has some type of improvement in that area. I know
Back
along
further.
Rainier Field.
It's back further.
I believe it stopped short of that four-way, but I'm not 100% positive on that.
They said they weren't going to address that. It was, I don't know, Kevin, you probably know, right? Why aren't they addressing Page and Old Mammoth Technology Hill?
So if I
Oh, I'm not allowed to do that, sorry.
So if I can
Never mind.
If I can ask her another question.
Sure. It was a good try. Go ahead.
In light of putting this in place and everything, do you think the developer that is closer to that area would be open to a discussion of what things may look like there and have a discussion about that? Do you think that he's approachable?
I believe they're approachable, yes.
So my questions to her is I sat on the planning board for a few years. My question to her is that, perhaps with what we're learning, we can go back to the developer, talk to Mr. Solinsky, and see if he's open to a discussion about, let's see if we can figure something out. I don't know what the answer is, but at least if we can have an opportunity to have a discussion with him about it.
Because I just want,
Because I hear what you're saying.
Yeah, this is our way of life that's changed drastically already, and it's just getting worse and worse. That's where we live.
The good news is Merrill Farm is preserved.
Well,
that's
but right
good.
next to it is the
I
PUD.
understand. Yeah.
So you go down to get your eggs, and you have machines all over the place. Yeah, that's the bad part.
I'll try to get involved with Ms. Karen and see if we can have a conversation with him. I don't know what the solution is, but I think it's a good question. So I will try to get involved with her and see what I can do.
Thank you. Thank you
With
so
the rest
much.
of the council, of course.
All right, thank you.
All right, with that, I'll close public comment, and we'll come back to the council.
Wonderful, thank you. You need to close?
Closing public comment.
Thank you. I know you have the 454 here that's mostly would be imminent for introduction into the plan. Do we have a potential for the other properties? It's kind of hard to read from your spreadsheet here upon what would be coming at it potentially in the next year or two. Do we know what that might be?
Actually, go back to the map. It probably is the best way to look at that.
Sorry.
So that's the light blue, I think. Kelly, right? No, I'm sorry. The yellow.
The yellow.
Yellow.
And I guess it might be hard to put a full valuation upon what those developments would be.
Especially if they're
for-
just lots, because you don't know what they're going to build on.
Right.
So the green is the full build-out. Yellow is near future, and then blue is the imminent. I can't, off the top of my head, put a dollar amount
Okay.
to that right now.
Okay.
Because
Just curious.
These are lots, right? So
These are lots, yes.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, we have, looks like New Balances there that should be hopefully coming online at some point, but we don't know what a
That
potential
New
valuation.
Balance has a phase 2 that hasn't come before us yet.
That's true.
Yeah,
Thank you.
New Balance is a
And
big
keep
piece
in mind,
of
they're
that.
doing the payment in lieu of taxes.
Yes.
That is true,
I was gonna
too.
say that.
And
Yes,
that
yes.
as well.
Okay, thank you. I was just curious upon what we might be able to see going into that fund to be able to pay for these projects faster.
And I go back to the second point here, or third, which is encourage investment. If you have a fix for some of the traffic issues happening, the development of those parcels is more probable.
Anything else from the council? Nope. All right, so with that, I'll accept a motion to adopt Resolution 225-02, adoption of the Pettingale Road Area Tax Incentive Financing, TIF District.
Tax increment financing.
Thank you, Increment. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion from Ted,
Second.
second from Ron. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Chair votes in the affirmative. Resolution is adopted. Ordinance 2025-01, creating the Londonderry Commercial and Industrial Property Tax Incentive Program. Ms. Karen.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So just as a reminder, the Commercial Industrial Tax Exemption Program was introduced back in 2022 with the goal of supporting economic growth and balancing the tax burden between commercial and residential properties. This program is governed by statute 7281-83 and 7227-a. So the council will recall that we last discussed this in January, and the request was that myself and legal counsel propose some amendments to the ordinance that basically would allow the council some more, the ability, I guess, to deny or look at projects more closely that come before you.
More defendable argument.
There you go. So I'm happy to briefly go over the changes that were made to the ordinance, if you'd like.
So real quick, if we can, before you do that, so Kelly's representation is 100% accurate. To recap, this did sunset. The council wanted more, as Kelly, as Kelly previously said, and more a better defensible argument if we were to deny an applicant. More reasons why. There was one revision. The council directed that there needed to be even more teeth, if you will. So a second time, I know Ron had reviewed this in detail with his resources up at the state, and we came up with what Kelly's going to present.
So just to level set a little bit.
Yeah.
What we were looking for was more clarifications and options.
Mm-hmm.
So it's more clarifications and options that would be available to the council.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Kelly.
Okay. So there were some changes on page 4 underneath section 8, public benefits. Language was added to the first paragraph requiring 2 or more of the public benefits be met versus originally 1 being required to be met. There was additional explanation about the required public benefits. And then there was another paragraph added that references section 12. And it basically says that the public benefit provided by new construction or rehabilitation must outweigh any costs or detriments associated with the same. The next significant amendment was on pages 5 and 6 under section 12, which is review and decision by town officials. So additional language was added, again stating that the public benefits to granting the tax relief will outweigh the costs and or detriments associated with the proposed new construction or rehabilitation. Additional language outlining that after the procedures in the ordinance are followed, that the council may grant tax relief provided the bullets that you see on screen. I'll save you the time of reading them. And lastly, section 13 on page 7 is a new section that was added specifically talking about exemptions. And so this is what I spoke about previously, where it provides language and process for the council to consider should a property be within, or requesting the exemption, and also be within, for example, a TIF district or other program in which they're receiving tax relief or benefit.
Thank you.
That's all I have.
Anything from the council before I go to the public?
I just say a few things. I'd like to first thank our town attorney, fellow councilor Sean, and 2 of my fellow state reps for all your help and input in developing this. I had a lot of concerns with how it was first written, and I feel like between all of our minds put together, we currently have a document in front of you that does protect the town. The council, now applicant now has to identify 2 separate public benefits. They have to be more specific. There's less gray areas. Section 13 was added to clarify 2 additional circumstances under which we as the council may deny the application. And Ms. Paul, that addresses your question. If you belong to a TIF district, you cannot belong to this also. So I just want to thank everyone that assisted in this process. I feel like the document that you have in front of you is a good document, and it is defendable in court. 2 of my fellow state reps that are attorneys say that this is now defendable in a court of law for us. So I feel like if we deny an application now, we have some standing. So thank you, everybody that helped.
Thank you. All right, with
Well,
that.
just a quick clarification, I guess. So it's saying here within section 13 that the town shall have no obligation to grant the application within a TIF district, but we can. Is that correct?
You can. The language provides the council the option.
Right. So it's not that if you are within a TIF that you are not able to be part of this.
Remember, clarifications and options.
Yes,
Yes.
exactly. So I just want to make clear that even if you are within the TIF, that you do have the ability to still apply.
Yes, just no obligation.
The document is designed to give the council options, authority, a framework to work within in a better way.
No, I just want to make sure so that the public knew that if you are within that TIF, you can still apply.
We have the option to deny it. That's
Exactly. Yes.
Yep. Right.
All right, so with that, we'll go to the public.
Marge Broy, 189 Litchfield Road. On section 13.2, it's the second to the last line. It says the length of the property tax exemption shall be determined by the town council on a per-case basis. Is that only for Tier 3, or is it for 1 and 2 as well?
Correct. It's only for Tier 3.
But it doesn't say that.
We should clarify that then, shouldn't we?
Thanks.
Deb Paul, 118 Hardy Road. I have a few questions. I guess I'll start with page 4. I think we need more clarification up here, and on page 4, right above 8, it says public benefits, number A, or letter A. And it says the council may grant additional years of tax relief, but no more than 10. So is that 10 on top of the 10 there already is, making it 20? Or is it just the 10? Because it says additional, so I'm thinking this was for 10 years. Are we adding another? You're shaking your head, John.
Can you please clarify where you're
Got
speaking
the answer,
about?
no?
Can you please clarify where you're speaking about?
On page 4,
Yes.
above it says public benefits,
That's
the
section
letter
A.
A.
Thank
So
you.
it comes over from, for Tier 3 projects, right? It says, upon the finding that the project is Tier 3, the town council may grant an additional years of tax relief, but no more than 10.
Correct.
So that means no more than
Right,
10.
means no more than 10.
But,
Total.
okay, so no more at 10,
Absolute.
not like additionally. So I was thinking it's for 10 years, but then an additional 10. The way it was worded to me made it sound that way, so.
So for example, I think it was one of the projects that came before the council previously, they requested the 10, and the council opted for 7 years.
Okay.
So it's up to 10.
Okay. And the thing I struggle with is when the projects come in, and it's all in that, the public benefit stuff. If you just know, like they just say, oh, we're building a building that's, I don't know, 48,000 square feet, and we don't know what it's going to be. It could be this, it could be that, it could be this. It's really hard to find out what the benefit or the pros or cons are for the public. So without them being specific about what they want to put in there, it's hard to justify the specifics, which also makes it hard to calculate all the, it says here that we're going to calculate You know, when you look under the public benefits, providing the construction, or overweight the cost, well, you have a calculation to figuring out outweigh the costs, you know, how much this is going to bring in this much traffic or this much employees. You have to have some sort of a calculation you're going to determine that by. So I guess I'm really confused in this area because it's very, very, very vague. How can you do any of these calculations without knowing what's going to be in that building?
So I think a simple way of looking at that, so a 50,000 square foot building, for one, it enhances economic growth and increases the town's tax base, and bullet 1. And then on the other side of that is bullet 5, it promotes the retention of local jobs, increases the local job base, and or provides diversity in the job base. So all of a sudden, you've hit two bullets.
But you don't know that. What if it's all automated, Ted?
The burden would be on the applicant. So
But
if we
you've already
don't
guaranteed them this,
Can we just
right?
say no?
I'm sorry?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But what if they say yes and it changes? I'm sorry. What if you say yes to this building, right? And then it becomes fully automated and what they said they were going to do isn't what they were going to do.
That's why God created lawyers.
But then that costs the town a lot of money, right, John? I mean,
Not necessarily. I mean, so the burden is completely on the applicant. They have to come in under this piece and convince whoever the legislative body is that they're meeting these type of things. If they don't convince the legislative body can say, no, we're not giving it to you.
and we're sure that them saying no to that is going to hold it. I just want to make sure.
So that's
That-
it.
that was
So
the point of what we did.
When the council decided to have a conversation with the attorney, what we said was is she has to come back with something that she can defend in court and win. So she feels that this is language which she feels is defensible in court. In your example of that they did something else, generally what happens is you sue for damages. So that would be a civil case if they did something different.
Okay.
So Deb, I did have 2 other attorneys read this document. And I'm just
just-
saying, and they told me, because that was my concern, remember back in,
I understand, Ron.
and they said that this is defensible, where our
Okay.
last one was not.
But I'm just going to say this.
No.
Every lawyers, it's 50-50. Some win, some lose. You never know
Right.
how it's going to play out. You really don't. You can't be
Our last
100%
document was 100%.
sure.
I think that 9.1 addresses Ms. Paul's concern, specifically 9.1 on
Okay.
page 4.
I could put
It
my
talks
glasses
about
on for that.
the recording of the covenant to protect the public benefit. It states that, I'll just try and shorten this, but basically it says that the covenant ensuring that the qualifying structure shall be maintained and used in a manner that continues the public benefit for which the tax relief was granted and otherwise provided in this ordinance.
Okay.
Right.
So your only relief if they don't do it is to engage them in, legality.
Okay. And so the other one that I'm concerned about, it says inconsistent with our master plan. And hopefully our master plan will be done shortly, a new one. Should we be waiting until the new plan is done? This way, if somebody comes in, right, they're grandfathered in and say it's not in the new master plan, but it's in the old master plan.
It actually says the applicable master plan. So whichever would apply at the time.
I don't see it says applicable here. It just says is consistent with the master plan. It doesn't say,
Which
or maybe I'm
number?
looking in the wrong spot.
Number are you speaking
So
of,
in
Paul?
section 12.5,
Thank you.
Hold on. 12.5? Okay.
the last bullet,
It does say applicable.
The last bullet, the town council finds. Okay, well, don't you think that it should be the same on both?
Well, that's kind of like saying we shouldn't have any ordinance because laws
No,
might
but
change.
because it's being done right now. You don't do your master plan every year. You do it every 7 to
The
10
new
years.
legislative session up at the state that changes laws and land use.
Yeah,
and
but that
everything
changes
else.
every 2 years. This doesn't change every year, every 2 years or every year. Your master plan is in place for 7 to 10 years.
So that's not the only condition we can deny on is the master plan. So there's other things to protect in here than just that. The master plan is going to change. The old master plan is still in effect with all the provisions that we had within that.
Okay, and so I still want to know if we have a written calculation of figuring out the cost that will outweigh each other, like if we have something in writing. For example, when you would do when we did implementation, when we did fees, on things back in the day when we had them, there was a formula in place that said, you know, you're going to have this many cars, it's going to impact the traffic by this amount, so therefore we have to do this. Do we have those calculations for figuring out that impact?
Deb, this document is a broad-based tax to protect the town from any.
I don't feel like it is.
An equation, sorry.
Defer to you. Go ahead.
An equation would protect the developer on that end. In the end of the day, you could have objective criteria that they could technically meet, but some of these other things, it's just a bad thing for the town. That would be a poor way to write this legislation. We'd end up with less protection.
Okay, I just, again, I'm gonna go back to, I feel like a business comes in and tells us one thing and then can like bait and switch us into something else, and we've already approved it, we're kinda.
We don't have to approve it. If they come in and they go, well, you know, we promise we'll have something someday, that doesn't fit the criteria.
Okay, the other thing is the time. Thank you for bringing that up. So the time, so, for example, the ones that we just approved in December, I know it doesn't happen until they start, but is there a clock like in planning, when you get your plans approved, you have like 60 days to start doing something? I mean, is there a clock to when they actually have to use this? Like, or can they sit on this for 2 years before they decide to pull the trigger on it? Do you know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, go ahead.
There is no clock, but I would say that it's not to their benefit to wait. So them waiting is not a detriment to the town.
But we don't know that. What if they do decide to wait? What if the economic element changes and they're waiting and waiting?
Then they're not getting the benefit.
But we can't stop it at that point because we don't have anything in here that says there's a clock.
They still own the land and can move forward with development.
But
I guess I don't get
They're not getting any extra time out of that. So let's say we approve it for, there's 5 years. They're not getting any extra, if they wait 2 years, they're still only getting 5 years.
But my point is, the climate may change in 5 years. Commercial may be at a much higher rate then. Now they're really going to benefit. And they could be even at a worse rate. I don't know. But I'm just trying to say there should be some sort of thing. We don't want to sit there like what we did with, I hate to say it, Woodmont, and we wait, got 20 years for this thing to develop, and the climate changed from what it was going to be to what it is.
That's apples and oranges.
Well,
and
no, not
I
really.
mean, we had a saying in the Marine Corps: "What if grasshoppers had machine guns? We'd all be screwed." But my point of bringing that up is, so this ordinance sunsets at 24 months after its passage, unless sooner determined by the or extended by the town council. So the council at any time can sunset or terminate this agreement. Say next council meeting, the council decides, hey, actually, you know what, I don't want this. They can get rid of the ordinance at that time.
Deb, I think a lot of the things that you're asking us to put in it would make it worse for us as the town. I think the way this is written, I feel like is structured so that we can protect ourselves. And if we put these things in place that you're asking for, actually makes it worse for us.
I understand what you're saying. I do. I'm just very concerned because we were told when I was sitting up there that this was going to be able to work for us. The lawyers told us we could do this, and then it didn't. And so maybe I'm being a little extra cautious or extra due diligent, but I'm doing it for a specific reason because we were told this is no problem. You'll be able to opt out. It's not a big deal. And then it wasn't true.
So I don't think anybody was more. Sorry to interrupt you. I don't think anybody was more upset than I was when we had to approve those 4. Okay, that's why I took this upon myself to make sure this is better. And I feel like this is better and it will work.
Okay.
So sorry to interrupt you, Sean.
And we can get in a competition of who is more upset. But
I'd like to see that.
So I talked to multiple legislators too on my own. So did Ron, separate from just our attorneys. We ran this by multiple people to make sure that this was as ironclad so that would not happen again.
Okay. So the right now it's 2 years. The only other question I had is I think the application fee is too low. I really do. I think it should be more like $1,500 If you're giving them all this breaks on their taxes for so many years, the least they can do is cough up $1,500 for the application fee.
Thank you.
Because the million-dollar companies, right? Those are all.
Good evening.
A debate who's going to go first. My only question on this, and I've talked to Sean, Dan Bouchard, 8 O'Connell Drive. I've talked to Sean, I've talked to Ron about this. On the last one, when you guys did in December, all right, and I don't fault the applicant for this, okay? It was available for him. He was building it, excuse me, off Akira Way, a PUD, okay? As part of the PUD, he has to put up that building. And now you gave him a tax credit, all right? I know you had to, you didn't have any option. But does that address that in this new one, where if you're putting in a PUD, you're not getting that tax break because you're already, the town's already giving you a bonus here by putting letting you build a PUD up there or wherever you're going to do it. Follow me? John looks confused.
They hadn't started construction at the time.
Right. That's why it was
That's the threshold, if you will.
Right. But the movie theater had started construction, so they were not.
Correct.
No, I'm not talking about the movie
Oh,
theater.
we're just clarifying, just so I can try to figure out how to answer the question.
The PUD was under construction and they had buildings going up. They wouldn't have been eligible to apply.
Okay, but in the future, like.
So is your question, you're asking if future PUDs would be allowed to apply for this?
Exactly. Like, for example,
The question
okay, we
is
have
that
one.
Yes, they could apply, but the council could deny or not.
Okay, because on Auburn Road, all right, we got
thing that none of us want built.
all right, but we got a large parcel up there that they presented to the town with a PUD, okay.
Which it didn't meet the criteria for.
But if they, whatever they they do in the future, if it does meet it, and are they going to be eligible for this tax incentive?
Depends, because I think a lot of it was AR1 up
Mhm.
there.
So,
in that
correct.
particular case.
Correct. So it depends what they're proposing at the time. If they're proposing industrial and commercial uses and they meet the criteria of this ordinance and the council at that time deems that they have met this ordinance and its requirements, they may choose to approve it or they may choose to deny it.
Okay, I just have a problem.
Specific to the industrial commercial
Right.
buildings.
I just have a problem because when a PUD, you have to have residential, industrial, commercial, and some place for shopping and stuff.
Because I sat through that presentation and
Yep.
everything, and for them to meet the criteria of a PUD would be like me winning the lottery tonight.
Okay, but besides that one, all right, my thought is that if you're doing a PUD, you shouldn't qualify for this tax incentive because you already have to put that building up. That's my 2 cents. Thank you.
It's a tag team.
Tony DiFrancesco, 1 Cheshire. Thank you for bringing this forward again. This is seems to be well vetted by multiple attorneys, multiple staff, and as the testimony said by several of you as counselors, that it is defensible and winnable if you decide to not grant to an applicant. This is a toolbox item. This is something that you don't put together, and because of the way municipalities work, you have to have public hearings, you have to have a first reading, et cetera, several months, many months, because municipalities work slower than any other business in the history of mankind. It's just how it works. So to have this as a toolbox item, I think is a smart and fiscal thing to do. I think it's a great thing to have on the books in case you need it. There seems to be a perception that every business, and I want to be clear, every industrial company that comes to town is going to get a tax break. This document is for the very few this new document. Not to twist the knife, but just saying. So this is for the very few. There are very few people, very few applicants that are going to qualify for this. And even if they do, as a Judge Judy attorney, as I read this document, you still have other outs as well. There's plenty of flexibility for the town, the people who, the what's the word I'm looking for? Legislative body, thank you, to vote down an applicant with this new language. And that's the way it should be. As I read through documents, legal documents throughout my business life, they were always too open-ended, I thought, especially when I wasn't the one writing it. And so this language is clearly in the favor of the town of Londonderry and protects the taxpayers of Londonderry. It is a good document. It is a good thing to have in your pocket on the rolls in case you want to lure somebody into town and get some extra revenue that Hudson would get instead, or Derry would get instead, or Manchester would get instead. This is a great tool, and I urge you to vote in favor of this now, not later. Now. Later is a smokescreen. Get it done, get it over with. Let's move on to the next thing. Multitasking is okay, even in a municipality. Thank you for listening.
Kevin Smith, 6 King Philip Drive. I appreciate the council's and the staff's, I think, very thoughtful revisions to this, and would just echo, what Tony was saying. Real life example, was actually meeting with a potential commercial user last week. Very, very cool thing. I'm under an NDA. I can't say what it is, but it would be a destination type thing. Would bring a lot of revenue into the town. 15 minutes into the conversation, the question was asked, what incentives, if any, does a municipality or state have? Because they're looking regionally all over the Northeast for a location. So is it a make or break? Maybe not, but you know what? It does give us a leg up on other communities that can offer the same thing. And as I've said before, partial revenue and then full tax revenue is better than no tax revenue over those same years. So again, thank you for your thoughtful consideration on it.
Thank you.
Love it.
I like that.
We make our own fun here.
Martha Smith, 38 Shasta Drive. The only thing that I'm curious about this is I don't know. I mean, part of what I've been hearing is that this is an incentive to bring business to the town, build up our commercial base, and that's going to be a positive for Londonderry. Did you do any research on other surrounding towns here to find out, do they offer these? Is this a really...
So, for example, Salem, New Hampshire actually has one in place that they still have in place. It's written almost exactly like this.
Okay.
There are 19 municipalities throughout the state of New Hampshire that offer this.
Thank you, Sean.
Okay, thank
Derry
you. And
also
do you know, so Salem's close to us. Any others?
Derry.
Derry has one.
Yep.
Salem, Derry, Goffstown, Hooksett, Pelham.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Forgot something.
You didn't get tagged in.
No, nobody wants to tag me. That's okay. I forgot one thing, and it's kind of like what Martha just said. I think this is great in a toolbox. I would like us to take a breath on it because I just want to say one thing. There might be 19 other towns that have this, but none of them are like us. We have the foreign trade zone up at the airport. You've got the airport. You've got two access points to 93. You have access pretty quickly to 111 to the seacoast. You have it going towards Merrimack. These are things those towns don't have. Hooksett doesn't have it. Goffstown doesn't have it. Derry doesn't have it. And wait, we also have a lot of land still available. And I hear from all my real estate friends that are sitting out here, they always say, location, location, location. Well, we have location, location, location. So I feel, even though this is a great tool to have, I think that sometimes you have to take a breath on things, look at it, digest it, before you pull the trigger. Again, I'm going to say this. I'm not against it totally. I just wish that you would take a breath, not rush it, look at it again, think about it, because I think what it really needs is something to help the smaller businesses in this community, the things people do want, there's no real estate for a small to medium-sized business. That space is like null and void. It's like the housing market. You can't find it at all. So we're losing a lot of those little mom and pop shops that the people of this town want to see here. The little cute little dress shop, the antique shop, the art gallery. We're not getting any of that because you can't find space for it. What we have are these big things. And so my point to you guys is take a breath, think about it, don't rush. There is no rush for it unless somebody is knocking on our door right now and says, I want to take this, and it's a great deal. But I think that you should just take a moment, think of how you can even make it better for all businesses, not just the big ones, but the littler guys as well.
I forgot something too. You have to do that.
Yeah.
Why? Why do you have
All right, come on.
Why do you have
Come
to
on.
do that?
I want to be the last person to speak.
Come on.
Jeez Louise. Get a grip.
First time I had to use a gavel.
Tony DeFrancesco, One Cheshire Court. Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I apologize. But I'm sick of backhanded comments. It's unnecessary. And they shouldn't be allowed in this chamber. The question you need to ask yourself when you take the vote is, what do you gain by waiting? Number one. Number two, if you do enact this, and this is the part that I forgot to mention last time, and you get a new board, something happens, whatever, you get all new members, whatever, that board can at any time bring up this article and rescind it, or change it, or add to it, or subtract to it. This is not an all or nothing thing. None of these are. That's not how it works in a municipality. If you've been paying attention for 50 years like I have in Londonderry, you'd know that. So the question is, if you don't vote tonight, what do you gain? Number one. And number two, please keep in mind, it can be changed, it can be amended. There's a lot of things that can happen when a new board comes in. It's not hard to do. Thank you.
Address something too. Sorry.
Jim Butler, 5A Danbury Court.
Good evening.
Good evening. I'm in favor of this. I think it's a great asset for the town. I think I pay attention to construction work in Greater Boston and New England. And there's an index that we use. It's called the Architectural Billing Index. The Architectural Billing Index tells us what activity that architectural firms have that are coming in that they're billing on. I can assure you that there's been a change. Just in Boston alone, and I look at southern New Hampshire and all of New England, just in Boston alone, the work is going from life science, computers, to housing. If you take a look at the portion of work that's in the pipeline in Boston, 70 to 75% is housing. It's not what it was 5 or 10 years ago. It's not the life science buildings. It's not the pharmaceutical buildings. Even though there are some, it's becoming much more competitive. I see it in Cambridge, I see it in Boston, I see it in the suburbs. So this is a good tool to have to try to draw these people in. There's less out there, believe me. There's been a big shift. And you can go online and you can take a look at the Boston. You can go online and take a look at Cambridge, Waltham, Weston, Wilmington. Even the schools have downsized. I've seen schools that are $78 million. And Bob's worrying about, I forget how much it is. But schools now, you have no idea how much these schools are. And we're involved in some of the schools. I get it. But the market's changing, and I think this is a great tool to have in your toolbox because it is going to get more competitive. Yeah, are we in a great location? Sure. So is in Bedford. So is in all the rest of the surrounding towns. And when these big corporations, come in, the first thing they're going to do is ask, what incentives do you have? And if you don't have that in your toolbox, guess what? You're going to be out. So it's become much more competitive, and the market has changed. And part of the problem with the small stores, the brick and mortar stores, is when COVID came in, a lot of that shut down. And it hasn't recovered yet. It really hasn't recovered yet. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bring it back.
Yep. All right. So we'll close public comment. Ron, you were going to say something?
Yeah, Deb, I just wanted to address your question. This is not being rushed. You know, when I first took this personally that we had to approve these businesses, it made me want to make this a better document. I don't feel like this is being rushed. I feel like this has been vetted by several people that I trust. I've personally worked very hard on it. I'll speak for myself. I've personally worked very hard on the document. I feel like it's good for the town. It protects the town. And I don't feel like waiting another week or another month is going to make a difference. I think this is a pretty good document that we came up with. I feel pretty good about it. I just want to say I don't feel like it's rushed.
I appreciate your comments, Ron. Thank you for saying it.
All right.
I just think it could be better.
Thank you. Anything else from the council?
Yeah, so I'm going to choose my words carefully here. Ron and Sean drove the bus on this thing. I wasn't involved. They actually just asked me to get Megan on the, available to them. And, just since I had her number the fastest, I text her. But they drove the bus on this thing. They put this document together. They did the hard work. And thank you for doing that. It's appreciated. And since I get accused of like the tariffs in Mexico and everything else, I appreciate you doing all of it. And thank you. I just wanted to say thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Anything else?
Yeah, I mean, as far as it's rushed, I took all the time I needed to feel where I needed to be comfortable with this, and there's nothing else I would want in this. I've got every revision I need.
All right. So with that, I'll accept the motion to adopt ordinance 2025-01.
So
I have a motion from Ted. Who seconded?
That was me. I said so moved.
All right. John made a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second from Ron. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Sorry to cut you off
there. Chair votes in the affirmative. It is approved. All right. New business. I'm sorry. I'll accept the motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Motion from Ted, second from Sean. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Chair votes in the affirmative. We are out of public hearing. New business, reappointment of Allison Parsons as the tax collector. Chief, Mr. Town Manager. Kim.
Call me whatever you want, Mr. Chair. It's all good. We've been waiting for this one for a couple hours now. As you guys on the council know, these things come up every year. These are important reappointments within our town government. I think that it's important to recognize that we do hire great people that work for and in the town of Londonderry. And before you, the paperwork here, you'll see that laid out for you in Allison Parsons. Allison is a valued employee of this town hall. She's worked here for just over 6 years. I will tell you that in my 3.5 weeks of spending a vast majority of my time in here, every time I go down there, she has a smile on her face. She is busy helping people. She is a professional. And I think when you have someone of her caliber working in the capacity in which she does at a very high-paced, stressful position amongst your town clerk's office, I think it's only fitting to get this done so we can move on to business. Why that's being said is that there has been comments made to me about why we're doing it now. This is someone's job. This is someone who is working hard, diligently every single day, performing a task for the citizens. We don't need to wait. We're at the appropriate time. You folks are all here. You folks have worked with her, seen her in action. So I'm asking you today to reappoint Allison Parsons. You should have it in front of you.
Any discussion from the council?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion from John, second from Ted. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Chair votes in the affirmative. Mr. Town Manager, the agreement is not in the packet, so if you could have it please sent via DocuSign tomorrow.
Is it in your folder?
It's not in my folder. It's in the packet, but on the back of it has the local hazard mitigation plan. So, like a clean
We were just
copy.
seeing if you were paying attention. So.
So, DocuSign good tomorrow? Thank you. All right, moving on. Congratulations, Allison. Thank you for your service. Not only do you have a smile on your face, you are also very thorough. How many $1 million do you collect for the community? Over $100 million for all our forms of government. And we're at what percentage of tax collected? 99%. So job well done. Thank you very much for your continued service. All right, amendment to the pre-disaster mitigation PDM grant period of performance. Ms. Karen.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So this is quite simple, actually. It relates to the town's hazard mitigation plan. This grant was originally applied for in 2019. The plan was established in 2021. We are wrapping up the final stages of some amendments to that plan, and so we are requesting that the grant period of performance be extended to May 29th, 2025.
Questions from the council? Seeing none, I'll accept the motion. Were you going to say something?
I was going to say something. I guess I don't remember when we first put this in place. Can we give a bit more detail on how is this helping the town?
So in order to qualify and apply for federal grant monies related to state of emergency, natural disasters, we need to have a hazard mitigation plan in place. And we need to have a hazard mitigation plan in place that is compliant. So we are making sure it is compliant by way of this grant and need you to extend the performance period.
Thank you.
Because many of the regs changed, right?
Few things changed, yes.
All right, so do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second. Motion from Ted, second from Ron. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Chair votes in the affirmative. Any old business? Seeing none, moving on. Approval of minutes. So I have a motion or any amendments for February 18th, 2025.
Motion approved February 18th, 2025. Town
Motion
council
from
minutes.
Ted. Second from Ron. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstain? John abstained.
I wasn't here.
Thank you. Liaison reports. See.
So you'll probably noticed JFK was added to JetBlue for the season, so there's access to the full network of JetBlue out of MHT now.
Thank you.
To New York.
To New York, yeah.
JFK, yeah.
Oh, that's huge.
Oh, sorry.
I'm sorry. That's what I meant.
Yeah. And I'm glad to see that when the president of JetBlue had said, when I see more demand, I will add on more flights. So
He did what he said.
he did.
All right. Mr. Town Manager.
Thank you again. I've got some great updates. I'll try to be brief. I know it's getting late. And first, I must just tell you, as I mentioned last time, I really am enjoying getting to know the staff in here. So last week, we had a senior department head or senior staff meeting held in this chamber. I thought it was important to get the leaders of the town hall and through the department heads together to get up to speed, see what's been going on in each of their divisions since October, I believe was the last time we had one. A very engaging, in my opinion, very engaging meeting. We got a lot of things that have addressed. We took care of some concerns that some people had with the direction of the town manager's position, which you folks took care of tonight. I just want you guys to know that we often hear, what are we doing with these open positions? And I'm here to update you again that the staff in this town hall works diligently to fill those vacancies. We currently have a vacancy at the executive assistant position upstairs to the town manager's office. Tara has worked hard with Kelly on going over the job descriptions, getting them updated, and making them be very competitive to what is out there in today's market. It's easy to sit back and say, well, we don't need it. I can tell you, again, for those last several weeks here, you need that position more than people would realize. There's a lot of business going on upstairs, as you gentlemen know. So that is posted, and I believe the deadline is the 7th. So if there are people in our community or elsewhere who has any executive assistant experience, please reach out to Tara Koza, the HR director. Check it out online. It's available. And to work with this great staff, I think it's a bonus.
Did you say the 7th of March?
I believe so. Yeah, okay. March 7th.
Thank you.
Yeah. A couple other things we did last week. Kelly and I had a meeting with the assessing department, as you know, with the assistant assessor's position being vacated. A former employee took business elsewhere. So we got together with that department to see what direction we need to go in. We looked at avenues or ideas, how to better utilize that office. Are we going to expand what we currently have? Take a look at. We've been working with Steve Hamilton, as you guys know. He's our contractor for that area. Great insight, so we should have an update on that in the next couple weeks as we move forward. Obviously, there's an opening in engineering. If anybody knows an engineer that would like to come to work with us, Kelly and John and the staff upstairs would be really appreciative of having some sidekick help up there. John's been doing a ton of work, as you gentlemen know, for a long time, and I think it's about time that we get somebody to help assist and fulfill the department. And then lastly, I have two small ones. Several months back, we spoke about consolidated credit. That was the issue that the IT departments, town hall and with IT department here, have realized that about a year and a half ago when the PD was looking over consolidated billing for lines, etc., there were services that hadn't been canceled. So what Tom Roy did was he took a look at town-wide departments, town hall, fire, police, and he came up with a savings of approximately $21,871. So that's in the works. More to go and more to come with that. So that's coming. And then lastly, it's just, as you guys know, we're about 17 weeks out from the end of the budget season here in the town. So in the next week or so, we're going to get together, Kelly and I, along with Justin and his staff, reaching out to department heads, seeing where everybody's at. Make sure there's no surprises coming, because nobody likes surprises. And to get an idea of any last remaining requests that we need to handle in the fiscal year. To date, everybody will be under budget. So that's a good thing. I don't want to jinx it. As you guys know, anything can happen on a moment's notice. So everything is running smoothly. So that's all I have for that.
Thank you. Assistant Town Manager report.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So just one update for you. The 35 Gilcrest transaction is now complete. This was a large effort that was finalized by the town manager and I. So the town is in receipt of the $2.6 million funds from the development rights of that property. Additionally, I received confirmation from the finance department that the conservation portion, which is $750,000, was also transferred into the conservation fund. So it was a significant accomplishment that was kind of delayed between transition period with town managers, but we're happy to report that it is done.
Thank you both. Anything else?
All set.
All right, folks. So next Tuesday, March 11th, at the Londonderry High School Gymnasium is the election from 6 a.m. to 8. Meeting after that is March 17th, regular town council meeting, and April 7th, regular town council meeting, both at 7 p.m. With that, I'll accept the motion to adjourn.
I just wanted to add, it looks like right now, good weather.
So moved.
All right, I have a motion from Ron. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second from Ted. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?